February 2nd, 2022. We'll begin with a roll call. Please say here or present.
Hello, everyone. You all can say hello back. I know I'm a little bit out of decorum, but that's okay. And it truly is not a presentation. It's really just me here talking to you about this free speech training. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sharon Evans, and I serve as the Associate Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students. So I do see some familiar faces, and I see some new faces. Everyone, welcome back from winter break. Hopefully this semester is going okay. And let's get started. So I am here for two reasons. The first reason is to answer any questions that you have about the free speech training. And there's an ulterior motive to that. So the bigger reason that I'm here is to encourage you as student leaders to go out and encourage our student body to take this training. So let me just, I believe our speaker shared the letter, right, as well as an article that kind of goes into depth about why this training, how this training, and when this kind of training is going to happen. But let me just summarize very quickly. Hopefully you all have read your emails today, but I'll give a quick summary. So this training is a partnership between the Board of Regents and our 3 region institutions. So UNI, University of Iowa, and of course our lovely Iowa State. And this has been a process and a commitment with developing this training and ensuring that all 3 region institutions are on the same page. And as you know, the first memo rolled out yesterday, and then there was a memo that rolled out today that indicated how to take the training. Students will be taking the training through Canvas. Faculty and staff will be taking the training through Learn at ISU. And so one of the things that I tend to want to cover with people is understanding, why is this important? There's a lot of reasons as to why. We all know in this room that freedom of expression can get a little messy at times. And when you look at the law, and then when you look at human nature, things can go a little crazy if people don't really have a comprehensive understanding of where things fall in place when there's an issue or a challenge. I am hoping that this particular training will clear up some of this. Also, I'm hoping that people will take more interest in First Amendment rights and freedom of expression and be able to share that knowledge across the university. I think we're all aware, if all of you were here last year, we had some challenges in the classroom, at the other region institutions, and outside the classroom. And so we want to try to be as proactive as possible in keeping those issues from coming up again. So I'm going to stop there because I'm not going to make this a speech. I said it was not a presentation, and I want to answer your questions about the training. I did take the training myself today. I will say that the faculty and employee training is probably slightly different than the student, but I think there are a lot of shared topics as well. So let's go. Anyone have questions that I can answer? I see a hand back there. Go ahead.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
So I was wondering, since we act in capacity of state actors, much as a lot of professors do, are we able to take the professor and faculty training as students?
I'm going to need you to speak a little bit louder.
I'm not sure if this mic is working.
No.
Is
Okay.
it now? Since we're acting as state actors in our capacity in student government, are we able as students to take the faculty and staff training?
As far as I know, you are not. So as student government members, you are not employees of the university. The faculty and staff training is strictly for employees of the university.
Okay.
Okay? Great question.
Dean Evans, thanks so much for being here tonight, and thanks for your overview. I don't believe you mentioned this, and if you already had, I apologize, but for those who don't know, Dean Evans does have a background in law. She has her Juris Doctorate, so this is pretty cool to have her here tonight. This question, it relates to free speech and the First Amendment, but rather the survey that was sent out prior to the holidays. Is that something that the results of that survey will be made available to the public in an aggregate form at any point in time down the road?
You know, I don't have an answer for that. That's not one of the questions that I've posed to the board or to our senior leadership, but I can pose that question, and I will get back to you on that. And for all of those that did take that survey, thank you. Mm-hmm.
Hi, is my mic working? All right, sick. As senators, we're not considered employees of the university. What about our graduate assistants considered employees of the university?
And I had a feeling this question would come up, considering the attention that has been placed on our graduate assistants and their status at the university. I would say that with this free speech training, and I'm saying my assumption, so don't hold me to this, is that because they are a grad student for this particular training, they will fall into that student realm. Now, I know there are some underlying things that go along with what's going on with grad assistants. I don't want to get into that at this time. I'm not the expert for that, and so I'll leave that aside. The important thing is that our grad students take the training as well. And that's a very gray area that I know is concerning to everyone, and I'm hoping that we are able to provide answers very soon.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I did have one other question. And it's kind of related to free speech in the classroom.
Yes.
I know that one of the conditions of the House reference bill that kind of preempted a lot of this discussion, or a lot of these discussions, has been centered around what's considered germane in the classroom. And so I was just wondering who is it that's determining what is or is not germane in the classroom if it's not the professor who's teaching the class?
Yes. When situations like that come up, and we have had that question come up last year, which I think is part of the reason as to why this training is so important for faculty, that kind of thing will go to our provost as well as our legal counsel. Our provost oversees the entire curriculum of the university, and of course, legal counsel is important in situations like this. So I think in collaboration with them and likely the chair and the dean of that college, that's where things are explored and decisions are made around that topic.
Thank you so much. And I had one other question. Is that okay? I'm sorry, everyone. I had one other question. If material presented by the instructor is considered germane, but the instructor proceeds to get doxxed by an outside organization, what kinds of protections are in place to protect the instructor? And I'm thinking specifically of graduate assistants who are already a marginalized group of people on campus. What sorts of things are in place to protect graduate students if that happens?
Okay. And let me make sure I understand the question. So the scenario is that we have a professor, grad student or otherwise, who by the university definition is presenting curriculum that is germane to the topic, but there's external organizations that are labeling this as something different or not germane. And so you want to know what kind of protections exist for this particular instructor. There are certainly protections as far as I know. Now, I think depending on the scenario and the details around it, that will determine how these protections are defined and the expanse of those protections. Every situation is very different. I would say that. And you know that there's a lot of different circumstances that go around one particular situation. But I would say as an employee of the university in general, there is a commitment to provide protections. Are there situations where there may not be as many or no protections? Yes, but we really would have to get into the details of that particular situation. And I think that if an instructor is concerned about that, I would definitely recommend that they be proactive and have a conversation with our legal counsel as well as their chair or dean or the provost of the university.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I just had the one question. I was talking to a number of students today about the training, and there seemed to be a lot of kind of misconception, misinformation, kind of not really clear about, students were asking about whether or not this training is required. We assumed that it was, but people weren't really sure, it seemed, from the individuals I talked to today. So could you just kind of like, maybe talk about, are we required to do this training? Are there consequences if students don't do the training? And that sort of a thing.
Sure. And I will go back to the memo that was sent out concerning this. And if you look at that memo, it is indicating that this training is required, but it also goes on to say without penalty. And so you can determine what that means for you. But basically, I will say that if you don't take the training, there are not going to be any repercussions. Now, I do know that the board, in partnership with the university, will review the numbers, the percentages, the feedback from the population, so faculty, staff, and students after this semester, because you have this entire semester to take the training. And so they will make a determination after that time in reference to how we move forward on an annual basis. And that's not to say that there will ever be any kind of repercussions. I'm just saying that somehow, as a board and Regent institutions that's committed to educating on free speech, we have to figure out the best ways to train as many people as possible. That doesn't necessarily mean repercussions, but we still have to figure that out.
Okay, that clarifies that a lot. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for Dean Evans? All right, well, maybe we'll have anyone who does email you. We can maybe send that out in the Campbell Scoop this week. So thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
All right, with that, we'll move on to our second presentation from the ISU Daily. So invite them to come up to the podium.
Hi, everybody. So for those of you that don't know, my name is Kylie Howder. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Iowa State Daily. So I'm pretty much the face of the Daily. I make all the decisions. I hire editors. I oversee content. And I get to do this and talk to you guys. I just want to start off by giving you a couple facts about the Daily, since we are very, very different from other student organizations on campus. We are a registered student organization with Iowa State. In addition to being a registered student organization, we are an independent 501c3 nonprofit organization. We're an Iowa State affiliate, so similar to the Alumni Association or Extension. And currently our newsroom is in the Wallace-Wilson Common area. We're hoping to be moving to a more permanent place on campus next semester. Historically, we've run on a 5-year contract with student government. This is because you guys have seen the value and the importance of keeping independent journalism here at Iowa State. Without your support, we would not be able to achieve the stories and coverage of campus that we do, and we would not be able to serve as many students. We can't go to Iowa State and ask them for money. We need to be able to be independent from administration so that we can cover them accurately and fairly. We're run by students through your contract, and we're run for the students. So moving on to our contract, we're currently in the second year of our 5-year contract, which runs from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2025. And this provides a possible total of $340,000 in annual funding for us. As part of this contract, we agree to provide and maintain our platforms daily at no additional cost to any student, hold a seat for a student government representative on our publication board. Currently, Dawson Schmidt holds that seat, and that grants you access to our monthly and yearly financials, as well as the opportunity to weigh in on our business. Provide easy and simple ways for students, faculty, and staff to request media coverage from the Daily. Currently, people can go through email. Every single editor's emails are published on the website, as well as our phone number, and we have a news coverage request button on our website as well. We provide the student body with an update on key current and future initiatives, meaningful partnerships with student organizations, and an overview of our current fiscal year performance metrics, and provide an annual report outlining each of these performance metrics. On October 1st, 2021, we submitted the annual report for the year. Some of those key takeaways were that in the past year, we provided nearly 2,400 hours of training to our students, and we employed 180 students from all 7 colleges. Our daily reach was 84,000 people on all of our digital platforms, and we had a total of 4,136,723 page views. Going on to the financials, your investment of $340,000 amounted to around 30% of our total operating budget. So of that investment, 68% was spent on personnel. So 41% of that went to student payroll, 23% went to the professional payroll, and 4% went to scholarships and internships. 23% was spent on operating expenses, so 3% went to ad management software, 1% went to telephone and data, 1% went to subscriptions and contracts, so Getty Images, that kind of stuff. 1% went to industry membership dues, so we are able to maintain our status as members of the Associated Collegiate Press, as well as the College Media Association and the Iowa Newspaper Association. And also 17% went to general and administrative, so accounting purposes. 9% was spent on cost of goods sold. So 1% of that went to the Daily Dose email platform, 3% went to website hosting, 3% went towards special publications, so the Renter's Guide, the Welcome Back Guide, Hoops, those special editions, and 2% went towards Getty Images. Over the past year, we made some really big financial changes on account of the loss of advertising revenue from the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic's effect on area small businesses, particularly businesses that rely on income from the student population, was huge. Our priority financially was to make sure we were preserving the student experience and trying to expand it if we could. So with that in mind, the following adjustments were made in 2021 and took place in this fiscal year, so 2022. We eliminated 2 of our professional staff positions. We eliminated the top role in our organization, which was the president/CEO. Typically, 60% of that role, the payroll came from the Daily, and Model Farm paid for the other 40%. So that role then was split up, and the responsibilities were absorbed by Sarah Lefebvre, who is the director of the Daily, and then Tony Thrush, who's the director of Model Farm. The plus side that we were able to do is that we raised student pay by 57%. So every single editor got a pretty significant pay increase, which was very exciting. Our financials for fiscal year 22 have been immensely impacted for the better by these changes that we made. We ended up in December, we were up 140% in net revenue from the same time last year. Moving on to the second part, student partnerships. So a huge part of what we do at the Daily is making connections with student organizations and clubs, and a lot of that goes through doing club features. Clubs are always welcome to reach out to us and get connected with an editor for a feature on their club. And also if editors or reporters are a part of a club or know somebody who's a part of a club that they find very interesting, they can always write a feature on it. That just helps gain traction and publicity for those clubs and helps them get members. We also play a huge part in the Greek Week and homecoming coverage, so covering those events, who wins, all that stuff to kind of strengthen our ties with the sorority and fraternity community. Just the other day, I actually got an email from Carson Fisher, one of the vice presidents of IFC, asking if we can cover the IFC experience coming up in April. So those are just a couple of examples of way that we're partnering with the student organizations in our community. As for current and future initiatives that we have some really exciting stuff going on. So this semester, we completely relaunched our Voices project, which was a project created in, I believe, 2016. But over the years, it kind of lost some traction. It lost energy, and the people that were in charge just didn't really want to put that much into it. And that was something I was super passionate about. Coming in as editor-in-chief. I really wanted to make sure that we relaunched that and we're doing our due justice there. So we completely redesigned the website. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we have some kind of media going out, whether it be an in-depth story. The other day, we did a profile on Julia Neely. Or a photo gallery coverage of an event, or we have some podcasts coming out too. So that's been a really great opportunity to just kind of rebuild that. We've also gotten to partner a lot more with Greenly this year than we have in the past. So the first kind of example of that is that we actually got to hire a writing coach, and we're in the process of hiring another writing coach. And this just provides editors and reporters with incredibly crucial one-on-one time, because they don't get that in the classroom typically, and they don't get that with an editorial advisor, because editorial advisor and EIC, we're overseeing the organization on the whole. So this is just an opportunity for them to better their writing skills technically, and then also be a better journalist, learning how to source, learning how to find stories and make connections. And everybody's been very excited about that, and it's been going well. And we also got to partner with Greenly on a cold case journalism project. Greenly had a cold case journalism class where the class investigated the case of a young woman, an Iowa State student who was murdered in 1968, and her case was never solved. I was actually in that class. We spent the semester creating a podcast and a series of articles, photos, a timeline, and then partnered with the Daily to actually publish that content and put it out. And that was just a really great experience, speaking as somebody who was in the class and also with the Daily, to do something in the classroom that also benefited my professional goals and career. The third and final thing, that kind of big thing that we have going on, is we are creating an editorial council / community engagement board. We're still kind of workshopping the name, but essentially what it is a board or council made up of representatives of all the different schools, so that we can figure out how to better serve them and their communities and make sure that no school, no area, no major is being kind of left behind in our coverage. It's not an opportunity for them to dictate to us everything that we have to write, because like I said, we are independent and we do pride ourselves on our independent journalism. It's just a better way to connect and learn how we can serve our community better. Just if you're a numbers person like me, I really like numbers. So I want to just throw a couple numbers at you to kind of show you what we've been doing in a numerical sense. From December 2021 to December 2020 to December 2021, we wrote over 200 articles and had photos as well relating to student government. We had about 417 articles about the COVID pandemic and how that's affected Iowa State. And we've had roughly 250 articles covering different student events. So, yeah, that is all that I have. And I believe I'm taking questions now.
Any questions for Kylie? Senator Brecht.
Hi, I was just curious if you guys were planning to go back to any print copies or anything like that.
So for the near foreseeable future, the plan is to not do that. Unfortunately, the pandemic, that was kind of one of the casualties of that on our end. We do want to make sure we're doing like special publications that I mentioned. So we are having like some print products, but for the foreseeable future, we don't have a plan to bring back the daily print product.
Senator Mahoney.
Could you elaborate more on what the Voices project you were talking about was?
Yeah, so that was created as like a way to make sure that we were amplifying the voices of marginalized communities at Iowa State, and that we're doing that in a respectful way so as not to tokenize them or anything. And that involved a couple different projects that they did back in, I think, 2016 to 2018 is when it was going pretty strong. They had a website and they did art projects and they had like posters throughout campus and stuff. And then that just kind of died off and they were doing a couple articles, some profiles and stuff. But so this semester we completely redesigned the website and are bringing back like the different forms of media that were kind of before, because not, everything can get across in a written format. And it's also just a better way to make sure that we're being representative of those voices on campus.
Speaker Weathers.
Hi, Kylie. Thanks for coming. My question is also kind of geared towards the print copies going out of phase now. I know that was a fairly substantial chunk of change when you guys did print copies. Do you have any sort of inclination as to where those funds have been diverted or anything like that?
So I was not around during the print product, so I am not totally sure on like how the specific allocation of funding went there. But I can definitely connect with you on that once I get the answer from our finances person.
Okay, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
Another question I have, I know you said during your presentation that around 17% of the funds that we allocate towards you go towards general and administrative, and you hinted at that was maybe something accounting related. 17% of 340,000 is quite a bit of money, and I'm by no means undermining the value of the daily. But can you elaborate a bit more on what general and administrative means?
Yeah, so that's just things that goes to like simple things like maintenance, copies, things that we need to function like in the newsroom, computers so that we have the technology we need, cameras for photographers, and for our Voices project, we're doing some video stuff as well for that. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Patel.
Hi. So hello. Okay. So I follow the Iowa State Daily on my Outlook. I was just curious if you guys had any like other forums like Instagram or like Twitter or anything.
Yeah, so we do have a Twitter account. We also have an Instagram account and a Facebook page as well.
Finance Director Zaster, and it looks like President Campbell has a question after that, so we'll just go down the line.
Hi. So first of all, you mentioned that student government funds for about 30% of the Daily's entire budget. Is the general breakdown of how student government's funding spent similar to the breakdown of the Daily's full budget?
Yeah, so the rest of our funding comes from like advertising revenue and stuff, and yes, it is similar. It's pretty proportional.
Thank you. And then also, obviously the Daily isn't just the Iowa State Daily, it's also the Iowa State Daily Media Group. Do you want to talk a little bit about Model Farm and how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. So Model Farm is the section of not the media group that is geared towards students in advertising and marketing who don't just want to do, writing journalism. They also want to work with advertising. And we're part of the same media group, but your funding goes completely towards the Daily. It doesn't go towards Model Farm at all. They thrive off of their own revenue.
And then last question, you mentioned the restructuring, eliminating 2 professional positions and restructuring the CEO position into existing ones. Is that a change that you intend on keeping as of now?
Yes, at least with the eliminating of the 2 professional positions, they were just positions that they added something, but we can restructure those to make it more efficient. And the CEO, That is still up for debate, I believe, with the board. I am not in on the personnel HR conversations, so I can't tell you. I don't know specifically what kind of the thought process is behind that, but that is still a role that's up kind of in the air.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for being here tonight, and thanks for what you're doing. I said it was really fun to hear about the support that you have for students right now, from 41% of student, or some of those dollars going towards student wages, and also the writing coaches. That's pretty cool to hear for our university community and their professional development. I wanted to ask, I had two questions, and the first question was, you talked about some of your social media platforms. So apps like papers like the Wall Street Journal and New York Times have an app on your phone where you can actually go in and click into and subscribe there. Do you think that's ever on your potential horizon for the Iowa State Daily?
That's something that I would really like to get off the ground. We had an app, oh gosh, I want to say back in 2016, 2017 or something, and they just didn't have, I guess, the capacity or the right people to make that into not a glitchy, crappy app. So yes, that is something that we've talked about getting back in once we can make it not crappy.
Very cool. Well, I would be interested to stay in the loop on that. That sounds great.
Yeah, for sure.
Other point very quickly is, am I correct that you have some facilities or interactions with the Innovation Center? And how is that working out for your team having moved over there with its recent construction?
Yeah, so we actually are working on potentially getting use of the podcast space in the Student Innovation Center. And they've said that we can have it whenever we want, but we're working on getting a specific time set aside for the daily so that anybody who's in the daily can go record a podcast or something. Because right now our current system that we have at Wallace Wilson Commons, we don't really have a podcast studio. So we just kind of do Zoom calls and record them, which is not the best quality that we would like to have. But yeah, we're really excited about that because that would provide a great space for our students. And there is a podcast studio in Greenlee in Hamilton Hall, but it's small and doesn't really allow for more than 2 people to be in there at one time, which is not ideal when you're trying to bring in, guests for podcasts and stuff like that. But yeah, we're really excited about that.
Right. See, no further questions. Thanks so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to open forum. Open forum is an open discussion of issues relevant to students. If you'd like to speak, please approach the podium. You'll have 10 minutes to do so and state your name and college. Is there anyone here tonight for open forum? All right. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to adopting the agenda for tonight. Are there any additions or changes to tonight's agenda? Speaker Weathers.
I move 2021-3-012 SC right below 011 SO under internal matters.
Moving that bill to internal matters. Is there a second? Second. All right. Any objections? All right. Seeing none, we'll be adding that to internal matters, special orders.
Additionally, I move to add 2021-3-015 SG, seating senators to the Jack Trice Selection Committee to the bottom of special orders.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to move 2021-3-015 SG to the bottom of special orders. Is there any objection? All right, seeing none, that's been added to the bottom of special orders. Senator Mahoney.
I move to add Senator Ulrichs to the roll.
Is there any objection? Seeing none, Senator Ulrich has been added to the roll. Any more additions or changes for tonight's agenda? Any objection to adopting tonight's agenda? Seeing none, tonight's agenda has been adopted. Moving on to the approval of minutes from last week. Is there a motion to approve last week's minutes? Is there a second? All right, seeing no objections, last week's minutes are approved. Moving on to committee reports, starting with rules with Speaker Weathers.
Hey everybody. Rules met yesterday. Surprisingly, kept it under an hour. We had confirmation hearings. 3 of those. We had one Supreme Court Justice nominee, Trevor Scott, as he goes by Henry. That passed favorably by the committee. Then we also had 2 UROC nominees, who many of you will probably recognize the faces of. Those also passed favorably by way of unanimous consent. Then we also looked at the legislation that you'll see tonight, the legislation to remove a senator. That was just purely a formal technical procedure. We just had to write the bill. No language was changed. Rules Committee didn't investigate in any capacity. We essentially just wrote the bill. But I'll talk more about that when the bill comes up. And then we also looked at 2021-3-004Y that you'll see under general business for internal matters. That's establishing at-large committee standards. We had some additions to that to make it more workable, but otherwise it passed favorably. And you'll see that pretty soon. And then we also sent the annual report on student government contracts and agreements out of committee. You'll have that in your hands very soon. I'm waiting on one more tiny little number to add to the report regarding revenue that we generated from the SE contract. But beyond that, that's all we did. If you have any questions, please do ask me or anyone on the committee.
Moving on to Finance Committee with Finance Director Zastro.
Howdy, y'all. Finance Committee yesterday was crazy short. It was only 9 minutes or something like that. All we saw was a Green Initiatives Fund application that was approved, and that's for the Climate Action Town Hall that's happening next Monday. And we also saw the Election Commission gift basket bill that is being, which is having first read wave tonight. That was sent favorably. I will add to that for annual allocations, which is going on this week. Info sessions are happening right now. There are 3 left. There's one on Thursday, one on Friday, and one on Friday just for sports clubs. If you have any questions about that, if you're part of an organization that you think could use money from student government, be sure to communicate with the treasurer. Make sure that they're aware that this is going on. The email was sent out to all treasurers and all advisors, so everybody has been made aware of this. Some people just ignore their emails anyway, so it's a bummer, but that little extra push is something that can do your organization a lot of good. Happy to take any questions, otherwise that's all I have.
Moving on to PR Committee with Director Garman.
Hello, everyone. PR Committee met last night. We had quite a bit on our agenda. Firstly, the t-shirts will be here hopefully next week. We had struggles with one size, but they are ordered, processing. We should have them next week. The tablecloth is on the way. Lydia's working with someone with that, and then we are finalizing more chip clips for tabling. Senator Finaldi and I are working with some at-large members on Black History Month social media campaign. So we're going to be spotlighting historical figures that kind of influence the Ames Story County area, and then also spotlighting students and administration on campus. And then also continuing with the election outreach presentations. Our at-larges have been going to college clubs, as well as election commissions working on going to non-college related organizations. And then also the 2 candidate events. So if you want to put those on your calendar, if it applies to you, the first one will be Tuesday, February 15th before the Multicultural Town Hall from 5 to 6:30. And then the second one will be on Thursday, February 24th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thanks.
Moving on to Diversity and Inclusion Committee with Vice Chair Adegarla.
Okay, hi everyone. DEI met last night. Nothing much is happening so far, but multicultural town hall planning is in progress at the moment. Director Sun and I have a meeting with the Censure. We're working on a project with international students. The Senate Reform Project will be having a meeting later this week. We also reviewed new DEI at-large applicants, and they'll be coming in soon.
Great. Moving on to Student Initiatives Committee with Senator Paulson.
Point of information. Senator Paulson is the leader for Civic.
I'm so sorry. I was looking at civic engagement, so I was like, Paulson. But yes, Senator Seth with Student Initiatives.
It's fine. So we had our regular meeting on Monday. We elected a new vice chair who is sitting right behind me, Meredith Mays, whom you may recognize from last week. who you should recognize from last week and who will be talking later tonight about UROC. She's the new vice chair for Student Initiatives Committee. And we also kind of went through some more planning on our projects. So right now, kind of in the weeds, trying to plan a trivia night sometime towards the end of February. So working on getting the space reservations done for that and figuring out exactly what we want the trivia to look like, whether they'd be individual or teams or how we want to do that. Yeah, I think that's about it. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Apologize for the mistake. Senator Paulson with Civic Engagement.
Hello, everyone. My committee, we met for the first time today. Just kind of talked over some projects that we want to work on this semester. That was basically it.
Moving on to comments from the Student Government Advisor with Sophia.
Good evening, everyone. Just a few things. The Iowa State Student, sorry, it's not state anymore. It's the Iowa Student Leadership Experience, also known as ILE, is coming up on February 12th. It's kind of a cool new, it has been happening for a long time at Iowa State, but this year and last year we started working together with UNI in Iowa. So this year it'll be in person right here in the MU with UNI and Iowa. This will be a great opportunity to connect with other students from other student leaders from other campuses. Also, I've heard that a few student government members will be there from the other campuses as well, so it'd be a great time to get to know counterparts at the other institutions. So if you're interested in that, I'm going to be sending out an email, so please be on the lookout for that. Also, iScore is coming up on March 4th and March 2nd, so that'll be something really cool that'll also be happening here in the MU. And then finally, if you are a committee chair, please send me an email of the time, day, and location of your committee. I'm trying to make it to one every month, and I would appreciate if I knew when and where it was. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take them, or you can grab me after the meeting. So,
Moving on to the judicial branch with Chief Justice, and then as well as the Election Commission, if they want to say anything.
Hey everyone, like Dawson said, you have a Supreme Court nomination coming up today, so vote for Scott. Scott's a very qualified candidate. I have no doubt that he'll do very well on the Supreme Court and he'll be an excellent addition. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about that, and I'll hand it over to, I guess, Election Commissioner Opie.
Thanks. Yeah, a couple updates. Campaigning started Monday, so we're really excited about that. I know quite a few of you incumbent senators are graduating here, so you're not going to be returning, unfortunately, but if you know anyone, any of your friends, whatever, encourage them to run. Statement of intents are due February 18th, but more importantly, there are 2 more informational sessions left. Oh, just one. Okay. So, and that is Friday. It's in the MU. The date is on the timeline. If there is any special circumstances where someone absolutely cannot attend that info session, I'll be happy to do a one-on-one session with them so we can make sure they're eligible. Also, the vice presidential debate is a week from yesterday, so it's Tuesday, February 8th, and then the presidential debate is a couple weeks after that, February 23rd. Thanks.
Moving on to comments from the executive branch with President Campbell.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I wanted to show you all. I have, this was gifted to me. It looks like a can of Campbell's soup, condensed, but it's a super timer, so I can time stuff. So I just wanted to show you my gift. I'm a fan of brevity and clear, concise, consistent. I try to communicate like that. Doesn't always happen, but I just wanted to show you all. A couple very quick updates. If there's any touch points you need, or you need to get connected to someone with feedback about the free speech training, please, you're welcome to come to Megan and I, or if there's further questions, just as she said, Dean Evans is more than happy to take them and direct them where they need to go. You should have received an email from myself and Speaker Weathers earlier today. If you did not, or you have not had the chance to see it, please open it and take a look at it. That is something that your attendance is required at, or if you're unable to attend, please let us know as soon as possible. So I have it explained in the executive update that'll go out, and it's also explained in the email, but that will be at City Hall Auditorium coming up. And that's about Ames traffic stops report. That was a report or research analysis done by an independent consultant. Coming up on the radar, more information will be communicated soon, but on February 16th from 5 to 6 p.m. in the Memorial Union, we're still narrowing down the specific room. There will be a working meeting / focus group with the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching. This is about U.S. diversity and international perspectives, as well as inclusive classrooms, and we're requesting your attendance. We would love to have you all there. It's going to be great. There's going to be snacks and drinks as well, and hope to foster a great conversation. Director Elizabeth Smith of Sustainability has spent a ton of time planning the Climate Action Plan Town Hall. That's going to be this coming Monday, February 7th from 6 to 8 in the Campanile Room, or the Cardinal Room, excuse me. So I'll send that out in my executive update. There's also a survey you can submit comments ahead of time. Just a touch point on a couple other projects. We're continuing work with American Sign Language, doing some things for Financial Literacy Month right now that's in the hopper. And also we're working with the strategic plan working groups to engage more stakeholders, such as students like us, in that process for the 9-year strategy for Iowa State. Special Student Fees Committee meeting coming up. We're voting on those fees very, very soon in the next couple weeks. So if you have questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, or feelings, please approach anyone. Myself, I'm on the committee. Finance Director Zastro, Chief of Staff Ludwig, and Senator Filippi, we're all on the committee. So please reach out to us with questions. We're happy to talk through anything related to that. And my final point here, the Memorial Union Advisory Board is an incredible group that does a lot of work for the building that we're in. And I'm prompting to you all here that what's not in the MU that you would like to see. And just throw out ideas. I'm going to have a link for you to drop, just very simple. You can just throw comments there. But whether that's anything that you see at other universities, what could be in this building that would serve students and people come in here that you would like to see. With that, are there any questions? All right, thanks for your attention.
With that, we'll go ahead and move on to internal matters special orders, beginning with 2021-3-011SO, removing a senator from Student Government Senate with the Rules Committee, so Speaker Weathers.
Okay, everybody. So this is the much talked about bill. So I just want to walk everyone through the timeline here as best as I can and explain the process as it's happened so far. So the first whereas clause there, Senator Natalia Rios Martinez was issued her first non-feasance on January 13th for an absence from a committee meeting, Senate meeting, unexcused absence from a Senate meeting. So that's the first one. And then in the second whereas clause, you can see Director Booman, in charge of the DEI committee, reached out to inform me that Senator Rios Martinez had 4 unexcused committee absences. As per the bylaws, every 2 unexcused committee absences is 1 non-feasance. So as all 4 were reported to me at the same time, I issued the second and third non-feasances simultaneously. Normally, the second non-feasance Rules Committee would perform an investigation to determine whether or not these are valid non-feasances, whether or not infractions were actually committed. But because the third one was issued at the same time as the second one, we skipped straight to the third schedule enforcement, which is Rules Committee automatically authors a bill for the senator's removal. So last night, that's what we did. We explained the non-feasances you see here on the bill. No changes were made, so that's that. After the 3 non-feasances were issued, I should explain, Director Booman reached out to me to explain that, as a matter of fact, rather than 4 unexcused committee absences, there were actually 3 by her account. But at that point, it was too late for me to do anything. Vice Speaker Advait and I talked. We don't believe that the Speaker has the authority to rescind non-feasances. And even if they did, despite that gray area, it would be a bad precedent to set. The Speaker's not in charge of determining fact or determining guilt. They just enforce penalties as per the bylaws. So now your job as Senate, since this is the third nonfeasance, is to act as the judicial body, I guess, for lack of a better term. If it were two, it would be rules, but because it's three nonfeasances, it's you as Senate have to decide whether or not this bill is passed. As I hinted in the group me, this does require 2/3 of seated senators in order for it to be passed. So that's seated senators, not 2/3 of senators in the room, 2/3 of all of our colleagues.
So just to give a little bit of clarification there, I think did Senator Schnepp leave, it looks like? So regardless of who is present, there's 29 senators currently seated. So regardless of who showed up tonight, 20 senators voting yes would remove that senator. So there's currently, I think, 22 senators present right now. So if only 2 people voted no, that would remove the senators, to give an idea of the numbers required.
Yeah, and the last thing that I personally want to explain before I direct my time elsewhere would be that unexcused committee absences are left entirely up to the discretion of the chair of the committee, which is why I left it entirely in Director Booman's hands. I didn't investigate the validity of those unexcused absences. But the committee chair always has discretion as to whether or not any absence is excused. Notifying them ahead of time, other circumstances, those don't necessarily equate to it being excused. It's the committee chair's final call. I guess Vice Speaker Debate, do you have anything else you'd like to make Senate aware of?
Yeah, most of what I was going to say has been covered already, but this bill was written as a purely administrative, bureaucratic process. There was no debate in rules last night because we are compelled to write the bill according to the bylaws. The debate, whatever you want to find, the debate happens in Senate today, right now. The only other thing I have to say is, given that we will be having the debate in Senate right now, I'd just like to ask all of you to keep the discussion germane, exercise professionalism, and remain respectful no matter what.
Yeah.
I move to remove Senator Schnepp from the roll.
Is there any objection? Right. Senator Schnepp has been removed from the roll.
With the remainder of my time, I'd like to direct my time to Senator Adagarla. I believe she has a statement she'd like to read from Director Booman, as she couldn't be here tonight because of the chicken pox.
So yeah, I'm kind of just speaking on behalf of Director Booman. So basically what she said was, "Hi everyone, here's the background information." She noticed Senator Rios' absences during last week's Senate meeting on Wednesday, January 26th. She also was absent during the DEI committee's first meeting on Tuesday, January 25th. She wasn't informed that she would be absent, so she asked me and Senator Claiborne to look through the minutes, and we both came to the conclusion that she wasn't at the committee meeting the past week. And then after looking at all the meeting minutes, Director Booman and I had concluded that Senator Rios had 4 unexcused absences from the DEI committee from last semester and this semester. The dates of those unexcused absences were September 9th, October 7th, October 28th, and January 25th. When Director Booman spoke with Speaker Weathers after the Senate meeting on last Wednesday, she also reached out to Senator Rios and shortly after informed me on the matter. Director Booman then realized that there was an incorrect number of unexcused absences. So as a result, she realized that there was incorrect number of unexcused absences. So as a result, she talked to the previous DEI director to clarify the number of unexcused absences. So instead of 4 unexcused absences, there were 3 unexcused absences. Alejandra had informed Director Booman that she was excused on the September 9th meeting, but did not relay that information to me, so I had marked her unexcused on the minutes template, which was my fault. The previous DI director also had discussions with me about about the absences from last semester. and she instructed me to make a decision on one of the meeting dates, which was October 28th. Looking back, I had marked that an unexcused absence. I didn't realize until further information that that there was miscommunication between Alejandra and I, that was actually, or that meeting could have been excused. It's still a little blurry. After receiving the information, Director Blumen said that she talked to Speaker Weathers, apologized for the misinformation, and stated that the correct number of unexcused absences was 3 instead of 4. As a result, Speaker Weathers had noted that Senator Rios would be at 2 nonfeasances instead of 3. However, since Director Blumen had informed there was 4 in the beginning, there had been 3 nonfeasances.
Senator Rios.
Good evening, everyone. As you all know, a bill was introduced for my removal. I want to take this time to clarify some things that were said about me. Before, I wanted to say that this situation has obviously caused me a lot of anxiety. Okay, sorry. As you all know, this legislation was introduced because allegedly I have 3 unexcused absences, but my intent is to clarify with evidence that these were actually excused. This past Thursday, how it's been said, I received an email from Aliana notifying me that I had 2 excused absences, not 4. And that we should discuss my role in the committee. Later that day, I got an email from Dawson saying that I had 4 unexcused absences and that a second and third insurance of a nonfeasance was being issued simultaneously, like he explained. I still don't understand why I was informed I had 2 absences and then 4 in the same day. Dawson's email caught me by surprise. As I was not aware of the situation. Aliana did not inform me at any point that she was reporting 4 allegedly unexcused absences. I asked Dawson what days in specific I had missed, but he didn't have this information. So I asked Aliana, and then she stated the dates: September 9, October 7, October 25, and January 26. And then in her email, she said that if you were excused on September 9 and October 7, it was not written in the notes of those dates, so I have no confirmation of that. I want to emphasize that she said if Aliana reported these absences without ever contacting me or Alejandra about it to verify if I had been excused or not, which I had been. Prior to the email sent on Thursday about my removal, she had not communicated with me to let me know what was going on. If she would have contacted me, she would have found out that these absences were in fact excused. In the afternoon, I sent Das and Aliana and the rest of committee rules evidence where I had excused myself from these meetings, and Alejandra had responded. I had other important matters that required my attention. Even though Alejandra replied, Sanjana said that she was not informed and did not add it to the minutes. Even with evidence, Aliana claims that I was not excused by Alejandra. Alejandra not only replied to my messages, but she never issued a nonfeasance for my absences. I do not understand why Aliana retroactively unexcused me from these meetings. She claims that I had texted Alejandra after the meeting had already started, but this is false. I had excused myself days prior and texted her again 4 hours before the meeting to remind her. For September 7, I did text her 1 minute before the meeting started because I had an important presentation with my Department of Justice internship, and the meeting ran longer than expected. Even though I couldn't make it, I continued to text Alejandra throughout the night about D&I committee matters. I asked Aliana why she had come to me to this conclusion, and she said, "Last Thursday, Alejandra told me that you were excused on September 9, but on October 7 and October 28, you texted her after both meetings had started. You could have been excused or unexcused, even though in that same email she said that I was excused by Alejandra. She said that since Alejandra graduated, she didn't want to be involved in this matter, and that it was left to Sanjana, who was the interim director. I want to remind you all that this decision was made by Sanjana last week, even though she was no longer the interim director and did not have the authority to do that. I personally don't understand why I'm being singled out. Out of the 4 years that I've been at ISU, I've never had a problem with anyone. And okay. I am not a confrontational person, and I was definitely not looking for
30
trouble.
seconds.
And I just wish someone would have communicated with me so that I could have showed them my evidence. Thank you all.
Senator Skaggs.
I have a clarifying question to the Vice Chair of DEI. So was it the September and the October dates that were, there was a miscommunication on, 2 dates? Okay.
Senator Adagarla.
Yeah, so I guess I can answer your concerns about like why I guess why I made the decision for the October 28th, or yeah, the October 25th or 28th date unexcused was because in my meeting minutes I had unexcused. I said that you were absent, but I was speaking to Alejandra before, and she said she didn't really want to take any part in any decision, just because she's not director anymore, and she didn't feel like it was her role and just like her position to make that decision. So she left it up to me. If that helps clarify if that helps clarify like why I had made that decision.
Senator Rios.
I get that. What I don't understand is why Aliana and you are saying that my absences are unexcused when I have evidence from Alejandra last semester saying that I was excused. Like I don't understand why did you go back to everyone's absences and make sure that they were excused? I just don't understand why that happened.
I don't know what evidence. I know there was like another email chain that you're speaking of, and I wasn't on that, so I don't know what evidence you're presenting. But Director Booman, information. Can Director Booman call in?
Yes.
Okay.
Just make sure we can hear. Yeah, put up the speaker to the.
Okay.
And this is using your speaking privilege, just so you're aware.
Okay. Sounds good.
Point of information, isn't it Senator Rios' speaking privilege at the moment?
Yes. So currently you asked her a question, so it's technically yours. And now we're on Senator Adagarla's because she's going to be using a call, if that's okay.
In the meantime, I move to add Senator Rulli to the roll.
Any objection? Seeing none, Senator Rulli's been added to the roll.
Wait, what information?
Yeah.
Are we using my time or her?
We're going to be, Senator Adagarla, this is going to be your second speaking privilege right now, calling Director Booman.
How do I call her? Can I call her? Okay. Yeah, you're on.
Okay, one second. Senator Rios, do you yield to Senator Adagarla? So you would need to like end that before we start Senator Adagarla's speaking privilege, since that was technically on yours when you were talking to each other, so you know.
Can everybody hear me? 1 second.
Could you explain that again? Sorry.
So you each have
wait
2
1 minute,
speaking
wait 1
privileges and you're both on your second, but just so we're either going to be using the remainder of yours or going to Senator Adegarla's unless you yield. So just like saying you yield or you're done speaking, so then Senator Adegarla is technically on her second one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying. I do yield one time. Thanks.
So are we on? Okay, you're on, Director Berlin.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, you're on. I'm on? Yeah, thanks for clarifying. We can all hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay. So to clarify a few things, I had a meeting as soon as I figured out from Senator Rios, we can all hear me, that there was an issue with everything. I immediately talked to Director Flores and I called her and I asked her. She said that on October 7th and October 28th, that they could have been excused or unexcused. I wanted to contact her directly because I needed to hear it from her. Whatever she decided, I was not going to construe her words. She said that she did not want any part in anything. And because Sanjana was acting as interim director and because she had taken the notes, that Sanjana would be the best fit person to take into account everything. I told Sanjana that it was completely up to her. Sanjana also had a meeting with Director Flores and talked to her. Director Flores said the same thing. She did not want any part. The meeting notes were the meeting notes. I told Sanjana to take into account all of the information, the absences, the communication with Senator Rios last semester. Sanjana said that Senator Rios had not communicated with her last semester. She didn't know about the absences. Again, obviously that was not completely Senator Rios' fault, as we found out that it was miscommunication on part of Alejandra and Senator Rios. But just overall miscommunication, it was not just the absences. Senator Rios was the only person in the committee who did not complete the end of semester report. Alejandra and Sanjana both sent the initial email on December 2nd. They sent an updated email on December 6th. Senator Rios did not show up for their one-on-one meeting on December 15th, which Senator Rios booked. And then I also emailed Senator Rios on January 14th to remind her to complete the end of semester project. Up until yesterday, I had no idea what her committee projects were or where she was at. Director Flores wanted to have these reports so they were ready for the next director. So it was kind of difficult to communicate with her because I didn't know what she was working on or where she was. As I stated, she wasn't at our first committee meeting and she wasn't in the Senate last week. And her representation in DEI and about DEI bills is very important in the Senate, so I needed her to be there. And while she doesn't have to communicate with me necessarily, obviously every time she's going to be gone, it would be nice to know, it would be nice to have a heads up, and I just haven't been in the loop. We also Sanjana and I both offered 2 opportunities for Senator Rios to speak with us privately. One was an email on the 26th. One was a text message on the 27th. She declined both of them. I do apologize because this was not personal in any aspect at all, Senator Rios. I promise you, this was based on a lack of communication. I had several discussions with Senator Adegarla and with Director Flores, and it was also on the number of absences. It was never my intention for her to be put on trial per se, but I did need to hold her accountable because she did have unexcused absences. She hadn't been communicating with me. Last fall, I was working on a couple projects with her, but she ended up stopped communicating with me last fall as well. There's one project I emailed her on October 9th. She emailed me back on October 27th. I don't know if that was because of communication. We were working with another student. But after that, the communication really stopped between Senator Rios and I. And during our committee meeting, our last committee meeting, she finally updated us, but some of those projects were finished and I had no idea. I can't really attest to what projects that she's working on because I haven't really been in the loop. So communication has been a huge issue. I feel like I have been great at communicating. I have a group me, I have a text message, I have email. I regularly check in, but communication has been lacking. But yes, Alejandra said she did not want any part. So Alejandra instructed Sanjana to make the decision. I had no part in those 2 absences. I told Sanjana to go through an unbiased lens. Sanjana did what she felt is best because Sanjana,
30
in
seconds.
her capacity as a senator and my vice chair, has been there throughout the whole entire time. She's been a member of the Senate for 2 years. She is knowledgeable about the processes. I thought it was best to leave this up to her, and I would support her with whatever her decision. So we came to this decision together, and yes.
10 seconds left. That speaking privilege is expired. Senator Rios, you're all out of speaking privileges, so that was technically your second before. So if someone would want to extend their time to you, we can do that.
Madam President, I'll make a motion to extend Senator Rios Martinez's speaking privileges by an extra 5-minute speaking privilege.
Okay. Is there a second? Any objection? All right, seeing none. Senator Rios' speaking privileges have been extended by 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Thanks, Debate. I just wanted to clarify because I think this is is just a mischaracterization of who I am as a senator and as a member of student government. To say that I have not been active, I just completely disagree, and I have my record to show it. If you go to the minutes, you'll see how many projects I've been involved, and I am happy to discuss any of them in any detail because I have been so involved. I am involved in cyber. I am super involved in the lectures committee, and any person in those committees could tell you about the work that I do, not only the work but the quality that I bring in, and then all of these projects that she's mentioning that we didn't have communication. I want to argue the other way around. Since we started the semester, I introduced a project and I was completely left out. This project was adopted by the previous director and the rest of the team, and they completely kicked me out of the conversations. And what I mean by that is that they didn't invite me to the meetings and they didn't put me in the projects. We have a drive with all of our projects where I update by the day and the minute all of the updates on the things that I do about that project. So her saying that Aliana saying that she wasn't on the loop is just false because all of the information is there, and I'm happy to give access to anyone. And then about the projects that she is mentioning, those are projects that I led, so I had the responsibility to complete them. If she wanted to be more involved, it was up to her. It wasn't up to me. And if they were finished last semester, then I don't think we need to bring them on this semester when she's the director. So yeah, I just think it's a mischaracterization of who I am. And then another thing she said that I didn't send my report, and through that time I was going through a family death, and I just honestly didn't want to think about student government or school or anything like that. And if anyone has lost anyone, they know how hard that is. And I'm so sorry. Sorry, let me recompose myself. It's very hard, and student government was honestly on the back of my mind, so I do apologize, and I sent her that report. But for her to say that she wasn't involved is just not true, because she was part of that project as well. So it's not like she didn't know what was going on. And if she didn't, she could have entered a drive and been updated by that.
All right, Senator Adagarli, you're also out of speaking privileges, so we might have someone else extend those to you. Senator Paulson, do you extend your speaking privileges? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to have Director Beeman speak, or use my speaking privilege. You're on. Hello? Director Beeman? Director Beeman?
Oh, hello? Sorry, give me a second. Sorry, am I addressing Senator Rios?
Yes.
Okay. So about Senator Rios' projects, yes, they were last semester. However, she did not inform me that they were completed. I had no idea where she was in her projects. I checked the drive. I was in contact with everybody within the committee about the projects at Senator Rios. I also suffered a family death. My grandfather, he died, and he practically raised me growing up. I had a single mom, so I understand losing someone, especially someone as a father figure. I understand what it's like to go through a family death, and I do feel for you, because I know how painful and I know how hard that hits you a simple text message or communication. And I understand that, especially when someone passes, that's not on the forefront. But it wasn't just over break. It was before, continuing from last semester and continuing into this semester. And I did reach out to everyone multiple times. So yes, there's that. As far as the Senate reform project went, like I said, communication wasn't lacking. Senator Adegarla said that she was the one who really initiated the project. We had all these meetings, but since Senator Rios was not in contact very well, and since she wasn't at the first committee meeting when we were starting to get through the Senate reform projects, and since she wasn't at the Senate meeting, I really haven't had the chance to connect with her because, like I said before, lack of communication wasn't great. Again, this is not personal. She is a great person, and she is incredibly passionate about her projects, and I admire that. But student government does have rules, and she does need to be present in the committee. And I just felt that she may have been overextending herself, and our committee was suffering as a result. I guess, Senator Adegarla, if you have anything to mention.
I mean, yeah, so I realized that Director Rios had a lot on, or Senator Rios had a lot on her plate, so I went ahead and just took the lead on the Senate reform project. But yeah, and again, there was the miscommunication from last semester that we did require all senators and at-larges to give us a one-page report of their projects, and at the time I didn't receive her one-page report, so I just went ahead and said that I'll take the lead on that, and I take full responsibility for not communicating that with her, but that was my bad.
Great. Senator Seth.
So I have a question for Sanjana or Natalia, whoever wants to answer. So you mentioned a lot of instances where it was difficult to get into contact with Senator Rios. I'm just curious to hear if there were attempts made to communicate with Senator Rios and just follow up and be like, hey, what's going on? Is something going on prior to essentially the beginning of this semester? So like, you know, when Senator Rios didn't turn in the one page, was there a message sent saying, hey, where is this? And was there a response? I'm just curious to hear, were other attempts at communication made?
Yeah, so Director Booman had told me that she did respond to, or she did send a message to Senator Rios about the one-page report, because I had informed her that Senator Rios did not follow up with me for a one-page report, so yes.
Yeah, go ahead. You can. I'll direct that to you too as well.
Yeah. Thank you for your question. I did respond to the report, and I apologize for not doing it sooner. And I told her I had missed her email, and I apologized. And then as soon as I could, I sent her the report, which basically said information that she already knew. Because we had discussed it previously. We had a meeting. It's not like I was just absent completely. We had a meeting to talk about the Senate reform where I updated her because she didn't know that much about the project, so I updated her. She came to me for the information and then didn't include me in the rest of the meetings for that project. So it's not like I was in a different planet. I was here and I was taking meetings. And in that meeting, I told her, because she said something like, see you on Tuesday. And then I told her, no, I'd like, remember, I'm not going to be there. And now she's claiming that I didn't say that.
Okay, and then I guess like a follow-up on that as well, just thinking about communication. So in October, when the absences were given or whatever, was there communication about projects? Like if Senator Rios wasn't really responding, were there attempts to reach out to Senator Rios in October when when two of those absences occurred?
Well, I was in communication with Alejandra, even in the meetings that I missed to talk about the projects. And they're saying that I didn't communicate, but I can show you my phone right now how I talked to Alejandra, and she replied to me and accepted my excuse, and we continue to talk about other projects as well.
Do you want me to answer?
Yeah, okay. If you want.
I did not receive any communication from Senator Rios at all last semester about absences or anything.
I didn't have to communicate with you, though. My absences have to be communicated to a director.
If it's Senator Seth's speaking privileges, you have to give that privilege away to each time they speak. So you can't just have dialogue without that approval, if that makes sense, since you were both out of speaking privileges as well. Just to keep it in order here. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I yield my speaking. You answered my questions. Thank you.
Senator Ulrich.
So I'm going to pose this to Director Bowman / Senator Atagarla. I just wanted to clarify, for at least myself personally, how many unexcused absences of Senator Rios Martinez do you recognize? Because I know, like, she's, the bill says 4, but then we've been talking a lot, maybe 3, but I just wanted to hear from you how many you recognize.
As I looked at, when I was looking at it from an unbiased lens, I saw 3 unexcused.
All right, thank you.
Senator Patel. Do you want to extend your speaking privilege? Okay, perfect. Senator Rios, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify that I didn't communicate with Sanjana because the protocol says that it's the director who you have to tell if you're not going to make it to the meeting. So if Alejandra didn't communicate that to Sanjana, then there's nothing that I can do about that. And then, what was the other question that you had? What was the other question that you have? Yeah.
Point of order, not a primary speaking privilege. A question cannot be posed.
Oh, okay. I remember. It was about the number of absences, and I just wanted to clarify that Alejandra, last semester, she had already approved my absences, and she never issued a non-feasance. So Sanjana and Aliana are going back to the semester when she wasn't a director, and then saying that I wasn't excused, when I sent everyone proof that I was.
Senator Paulson.
Speaking privilege.
Director Bowman, you're on.
I am, okay. Again, this was not personal. I just looked at the meeting notes. It came to my attention from members in my committee, and I also went to take a look. I went strictly off of the notes. So again, I thought the meeting notes were correct. I had no reason to assume that they were not correct and that they were not reflected accurately. So for that, I apologize, but I did clarify that with Alejandra. As I said, on the 7th, she said it was excused, but Alejandra did note that you did text last minute. I mean, on the 9th, it was excused, but she did note that on October 7th and October 28th, you could also be excused or unexcused. She said that she hadn't really looked into it. She said that she wanted Sanjana to make that decision. In the meeting notes, I do remember you being absent on October 7th. Because you had me give that update. You texted me shortly after the meeting already started on October 28th. Again, the minutes were absent. I understand there's that communication issue, and clearly that was, I was not in this capacity, so I cannot be there to address that communication issue. I am strictly going off of what Alejandra said. I wanted to speak to Alejandra because she was the source, which is why I asked her personally. Sanjana also spoke to her personally. This is what she said. She told Sanjana to go look through the meeting notes and make that decision. So that is how we based our decision. As I said, it was not personal. For the Senate reform, I did not hear that you were going to be, on our meeting on January 21st, I didn't hear that you were going to be absent. Sanjana also said that she didn't hear that you were going to be absent. During the meeting, we discussed the Senate reform. We talked about next steps. I was going to speak with you about that, but you had been missing from the committee. And as far as the projects go, yes, I wasn't aware of what you were working on. I just didn't know. I knew of the projects that you were working on. I didn't know where your progress was. I didn't know if you started any new projects because communication kind of filtered down. When I emailed Senator Rios initially on Thursday morning, that was meant to be my, hey, this is what's going on. I probably should have texted her privately with Sanjana and Tom first, and for that I apologize because I'm sure that caused you an extreme amount of stress. But for me and my brain, the most logical reasoning was to email you first in my professional capacity with Speaker Weathers on there so we could have a meeting and go accordingly. I think that addresses everything. There's kind of a lag, so I'm sorry if I don't hit all the main points.
Do you yield? Senator DeVate.
First of all, I'd like to ask everyone to confine remarks to the merits of the pending question, to the matter at hand, and even more importantly, not impugn the motives of other senators. I have a couple things to note here. It looks like we're going back and forth on one or two aspects of what's going on, but that's not erasing the fact that there's still the rest of what's on the bill. And I guess I'm trying to go and get at that right now. So Senator Martinez, could you speak to the two absences that you said you texted them? Was that just a notification of an absence? And could you speak to what that looked like?
Yeah, I mean, I sent you all the pictures of my communication with Alejandra. I'm not sure, like, what you're asking. Like, are you asking me what I told her?
I guess, so as a committee chair myself, people can text you whatever. The bylaws don't say anything about notifications. They say excused. They make a distinction between excused and unexcused absences. If I recall correctly, I remember you having said you excused yourself by texting her 1 minute before. I guess the question I have is, and this is going to depend on each committee, how each individual committee chair operates, and I want to give you a chance to explain whether or not you simply notified someone of an absence, or if you notified the chair of an absence and then you received an affirmative response explicitly making it an excused absence.
Yeah, I understand your question. Thank you. Yeah, so I when I say I have communication with, I sent her a message and then she replied back. And if that's okay, I'm gonna read what I said. So on September 9, I had a personal situation in Des Moines, and I couldn't make it on time. Or last semester we met weekly. At night, so I just had a situation and I couldn't make it. And then she says, that's okay. Can you just make sure to send me a picture for social media? And then we talked about something in the committee, but I just want to emphasize that that was okay. Then on October 7, and then I explained to her that I had, and you have these pictures as well, that I had my presentation with the Department of Justice. And then I told her, like, can you please welcome Sydney, which is a guest that I had arranged for our meeting. And then she said, yes, for sure. She just got here. And then we continued talking about some other things. So it's not like I was present. I was constantly texting her. And then on October 28, where they say that I didn't that I excused myself when the meeting had already started, at 4:30 p.m. our meeting started at 8. I said, I just wanted to remind you that I have an event tonight from 6 to 9. And then I won't be able to make the meeting. I had told her before in an email, so this was just a reminder. And then she says, yes, sounds good. And then you have all of these texts as well, and I'm happy to show them.
Thank you, Senator.
Yeah.
This question goes out to other members of the committee. In your experience as committee members, would you say this is consistent with what an excused absence is and how other members have been issued excused absences in the past? And if this is in line with the reporting requirements the chair has been generally operating under?
Are you asking this to a specific person or anyone who's a committee chair
This is a
in the
question.
room?
Anybody who thinks they can answer this question, just wave your hand and I'll pose a question to you.
So could raise your hand if you're a chair in the room. We have Senator Paulson, Senator Seth. Any of you would want to speak to this?
This is a question specifically to people on D&I committee.
Okay.
Because they would be knowledgeable.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. Could you speak to whether this would be considered an excused absence under the operating guidelines of the committee, informal as they might be? And if other members have been operating under similar guidelines?
What would usually happen last semester is that they would text me and Alejandra that they'd be absent, but I never got text from Senator Rios that she would be absent. So in my mind, I just marked her unexcused. Alejandra may have excused her for the September, for one of the meetings in September. But for the October meeting, she said she didn't know if that was unexcused or excused, so she left that decision up to me. And I marked that unexcused, because I, again, did not receive information from
Madam President, how much time do I have left?
You have a minute, or you have 45 seconds remaining, excuse me.
Okay. In the interest of brevity, then, I will note that unexcused or excused absences are completely up to the discretion of the chair. And even more importantly, we can lose 2 unexcused absences that are on the bill right now, and we'd still be at 2 nonfeasances, which at that point would have still triggered a rules investigation where one of 4 paths might have been taken, a removal bill being one of those, a censure bill being the other, dismissal or something of that effect being another option. So even if we are to take the facts in the light most favorable to the quote-unquote defendant today, there's still more discussion to be had on the facts that aren't in dispute. Please keep that in mind. I yield.
Speaker Weathers. Oh, just a quick reminder, there's 3 minutes remaining on this bill, so we're going to have to extend time if we want to
extend debate by 10 minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any objection? Right, seeing none, debate has been extended by 10 minutes, so we now have 13 minutes to debate. Speaker Weathers.
Okay, so I'm inclined to agree with Vice Speaker Debate. It's entirely up to the chair's discretion. If Senator Adegarla and Director Boomen have both indicated that Director Flores said those were unexcused, or at the very best left the decision up to Senator Adegarla, and Senator Adegarla said they were unexcused, then I'm inclined to say that both chairs, Chairs Flores and Boomen, have agreed that there are 3 nonfeasances, or sorry, 3 unexcused absences. So though that is not 4, I think Vice Speaker Debate is also right that we're still looking at a removal bill, and there may be other things that would warrant a removal in theory. So I just want to dive into that right now and maybe shift the conversation a little bit. So Senator Rios-Martinez, if you can answer, what committees are you currently involved in pertinent to student government specifically?
Yeah, so I am currently involved in SciRide, Lectures Committee, Transportation Advisory, and then the LAS Constituency Council that I have to attend because I'm an LAS senator.
Okay, thank you. Senator Finaldi, I believe you're the other LAS senator. Is there another? I don't think there's another LAS senator here. You're more than welcome to decline, but can you speak to Senator Rios-Martinez's involvement in LAS Constituency Council meetings?
Can I decline?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anybody who all here is on Lectures Committee? Okay. Is anyone, please raise your placard if you're willing to answer my question, but is anyone willing to speak to the involvement of Senator Rios-Martinez on Lectures Committee? Senator Seth.
In general, I remember seeing, this is based off of my memory, which may be faulty, so I will start with that acknowledgement. But I do remember seeing Senator Martinez at most of the Lectures Committee meetings. She would ask questions sometimes when we would have speakers come in, or if we had bills that we were voting on or something that was unclear. In particular, I remember the first Lectures Committee meeting that she attended last semester, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think it was last semester. She was asking a lot of questions about, she was pretty engaged. So in general, I thought she was a pretty engaged member of Lectures and haven't really had any issues with her on Lectures. So I don't know if that's helpful to the body, but in general, she seems like a pretty good Lectures member.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else on Lectures that would be willing to speak to that? I'm not getting at anything in particular. I'm just looking to find out the truth. I see Senator Rios-Martinez. I'm looking to get other people's opinions right now. Is there anyone here who's on the SciRide Board of Trustees? Chief of Staff Ludwig, same question posed to you. Would you be willing to speak to Senator Rios-Martinez's involvement?
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember her being absent at any of the meetings in the last year. She's been present, or at least zoomed in when she couldn't be there in the actual boardroom. So, yeah, I mean, present and active during the meetings.
Okay, thank you. The last thing that I can think that comes to mind, this is unfounded, of course, and probably a lot of it may be hearsay, but I believe the last Senate meeting at which Senator Rios-Martinez was absent for, which is of course excused, and I'm not calling that into question, but can you speak to the reasons as to why you were absent for that meeting, Senator Martinez?
For the first Senate meeting?
Over the previous one.
I can clarify too, since I normally take the absences for Senate.
Yeah.
You sent me a notification that I think you had a political science club meeting in the first one of the semester, which was excused because I know, are you the president of that club? So that was an excused absence, and this was last week's.
Yeah, can I add something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the president of the political science club, as you know, but I don't make those decisions alone. We have an executive team of 10 people who made the decision, and I just, I couldn't, like, I have a vote, but also they have an influence in that, so that's why, and I excuse myself with enough time, and I'm updated with everything too.
Okay, that's all I have. I appreciate everyone's responses.
Sorry, can I add something?
Yeah, please.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to say about lectures that I've volunteered to introduce 3 members, and then I only missed one because I have a shrimp allergy, and I had a situation with shrimp, and then I told Amanda at time as well. And then for SciRide, I've never missed a meeting.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
Just a reminder, there's 4 minutes and 40 seconds left to debate the bill. Question has been called for. Do you withdraw? You're out of speaking privileges as well. So, Senator DeVore, go ahead.
Right. I think we've had a lot of discussion already. I'm not going to add to the discussion, but I'm simply going to try to map out what our options can be here right now. I think you've seen both sides of the story at this point, but even with the facts that aren't in question, there's still 2 nonfeasances, right? And this would have still gone through a rules investigation and everything of the sort. I guess all of this just comes down to say, even if we are not voting to remove, which I think is perfectly valid course of option, as is the alternative. But if we are not removing, I think it is still perfectly within the realm of Senate to at least author a censure of the individual in question. A censure has no real effect on their rights and responsibilities or anything they can do in their office. The only thing a censure does, it's essentially an official statement of disapproval. It's like the resolutions we pass. They're saying, oh, hey, we think this, but they don't have any real effect. I think with the situation that we have today, if removal is not something we're going through with, I think that might be an amenable course of action to take, which lets us keep a senator, which in some of your opinions might be an active member and could still contribute to the organization while essentially telling them, this is not the best situation to be in. None of us have been in this situation before, obviously, but this is not the best situation to be in, and we need to be hyper vigilant to make sure that we are holding ourselves to the responsibilities of this office. So if this bill were not to pass, I will put up for Senate's consideration a Senate order putting a censure into effect. I just want all of you to keep that in mind as you're voting today. Weigh that, keep those options in mind. Did you have to say something, Senator DeVore?
I do have a question. If this bill does not pass, will the investigation go on because there was 2 nonfeasances issued?
No investigation will occur since we are now at 3 nonfeasances. That stage has been skipped entirely.
Okay, thank you.
However, since it is still my speaking privilege, I suppose, every single nonfeasance after this will trigger this process all over again. So according to the bylaws, once you get to 2, it's an investigation. Once you get to 3, it's an automatic bill for removal, which is where we're at today. And if there's another nonfeasance, the 4th one, we will have a removal bill automatically written once more, and we'll find ourselves here again. I yield. Call the question.
Question has been called for and seconded. Any objection to voting now? All right. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and go to closing comments with the Rules Committee or Speaker Weathers. Do you have any closing comments?
I do not have any closing comments. Would anyone else on Rules Committee like to issue a closing comment?
All right. Seeing none, we'll go into a vote. We'll go into a roll call vote for this. Reminder, this is a supermajority or a 2/3 majority vote. So that's of seated senators not present. And we have 29 seated senators right now. So that means that would be at 20 senators to get this bill to pass. So please vote yes, no, or abstain. We'll do a roll call once again. Advait. Yes. Adegarla. Ulrich. No. Brett. Carter. No. Claiborne. DeVore.
Yes.
Finaldi. Goff. Larson. Mahoney. Rios. If you have to vote yes or no, I can't answer a question right now. McCreate. Patel. Paulson. Ruley. Schnipp. Seth. Sayaway. Skaggs. Stout. Strickland. Thornton. Wegmeister. Weathers. Adagarla. Abstain. Mahoney. Rios. Rios. Patel. Of a vote of 4 to 17 to 2, the bill fails.
Madam President,
Senator debate.
I move to add 2022-3-016 SO immediately after the bill we just disposed of. It is a new bill. The bill I alluded to earlier in my speaking privilege.
It's been a motion to add a bill to, that'd be special orders. Is there a second? Any objection? All right, seeing none, the bill has been added. Moving on to, what's the number? Could you read off the number for the next bill? Sorry.
2022-3-016 SO. I'm currently uploading it to the drive. It'll be there in just a second.
Speaker Weathers.
In the meantime, as we get this organized in the drive, I move to add the Supreme Court nominee right above this bill that we just added.
Is there a second? Great. See no objections, that's been added. We're going to do the 2021-3-012 SC confirming a Supreme Court nomination next with Speaker Weathers.
Okay, Scott, if you'd like to approach the podium. All right. All right, so we'll shift gears here and talk about our more than qualified Associate Justice nominee, Scott Henry. Scott came to Rules Committee. I haven't had a lot of interactions with him personally. I know a lot of people in this room have, though, and they vouched for him. And I think his performance in rules was more than adequate. I think he would be a good Associate Justice on the court. But I'll let all of you make that judgment. Scott, if you'd like to speak to your qualifications and your motivations, any experience in the past, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I am currently taking a lot of law classes, judicial. Sorry, words are hard. It's late at night. I'm taking 420, or I'm taking 421. Previously took 420. Basically, what that is it's case briefs. So we go through, brief a bunch of cases, get the facts of the case, issues of the case, all that fun jazz, which I feel has more than qualified me for this position. Through that course, I've learned how to pick up fact patterns, apply fact patterns to different cases, figure out what fact pattern would fit with this case, what fact pattern does not fit with this case to apply the correct precedent. As for my motives to the Supreme Court, I feel like this is the best position for me to make the biggest impact on Iowa State University. This is a position that I would hold dearly and that I would cherish. Just having this opportunity to stand before you guys today means a great deal for me.
Senator Mahoney.
I'll repeat a question I asked to you in rules yesterday. What year are you, and would you consider, as Supreme Court nominations are a, in our sense, lifelong term until you graduate at least, what year are you, and would you continue to hold on to that position or intend to hold on to that position until you graduate?
Yes, I am currently a junior, and I would intend to hold on to this position as long as I can.
Vice Speaker Debate.
Could you speak to your jurisprudential interest and the law classes you talked about, how you think they'll impact your work on the court, perhaps?
Yeah, so taking your guys' bylaws, for example, I had printed them out, reviewed them, read through them once just to get an understanding of your operations. So today, for example, I was able to follow along. Wouldn't be able to tell you exactly that non-feasibles are in section 3 dot whatever, but I do know that non-feasibles are in fact in section 3. There's more committees in our committee information over in section 5. So I've been studying that. I care about this position. I want to fulfill this position to the best of my ability. As for the law classes that I'm taking currently or previously, what those have taught me how to do is A, read a bunch of long, boring legal arguments and legal jargon, because it takes a bit of practice. But also it's taught me how to continue to learn about the judicial system and apply the knowledge that I have about the judicial system, to the Iowa State University Supreme Court.
Do you currently have any conflicts of interest that might interfere in your line of work? If not, if a conflict of interest were to arise in the future, how would you deal with that?
To my knowledge, I don't have any conflict of interest. However, if one were to present itself, I believe the best action is to recuse myself just to avoid any loss of confidence in the courts.
And could you speak to your time commitments and how much time you think you'll be able to devote to the position?
Yeah, so I'm busy. I'm fairly busy. However, my schedule is very flexible. I assume all of you can attest. College is hard, but I'm more than willing, I'm more than able to move my schedule around to make sure that my time commitments to the Supreme Court are more than adequate, as well as putting forth the effort to attend each meeting or anything else that's required of me.
Thank you so much. I yield. Call to question.
Any objection to voting now? Any closing comments? No closing comments. We'll go ahead and go into a vote. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to confirming the nominee to the Supreme Court unanimously? Seeing no objections, you're confirmed. Congratulations. We're going to do the swearing in now, so if you want to actually head back up to the podium with Chief Justice, we'll do that.
I solemnly swear or affirm
to execute the duties of my position
to execute the duties of my position
as prescribed in the Constitution
as prescribed in the Constitution
and laws of the government
and laws of the government
for the benefit of all students.
for the benefit of all students.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations, Senator or Associate Justice Henry. Now we'll move on to 2021-3-016 SO, censuring a student government senator with Vice Speaker at debate.
All right, so this is the bill I talked about. I will be pulling it up on screen in a second here. All right, and it's there. Okay, so this is the bill that I spoke about before we went to a vote on the motion to remove a senator. I spoke about this before the vote with a view to making sure Senate knew all of the options available at its disposal, and knowing full well that some members, knowing that a censure would be available, would be happy to change their vote. I do see how a lot of us in this chamber are more than happy to give members amongst ourselves a second chance, and I can't see absolutely where that's coming from. That's really what this bill is making it clear that even though we might have had something that had grounds for removal, we're not choosing to go with removal. However, censure would like to resolve the situation. The Senate would like to resolve the situation via a censure, which again does not affect the rights or responsibilities of the member in any way, but simply serves as an official opinion on the matter. I yield. If you have any questions, please direct those at me.
Senator Larson.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted some clarification. So it sounds like that this is just going to be put in place instead of having, like, every time she gets her fourth nonfeasance, will censure be issued every single time she gets a fourth nonfeasance, or is this just one overall that she will get?
Is that a question to me?
Yes.
Could you explain what you mean by one overall?
So I don't really fully grasp the understanding of a censure. So is it just like one order? So like she'll just be getting one overall for all the times she gets her fourth nonfeasance, or will she get a censure every fourth nonfeasance?
So a censure, this is on a case-by-case basis. This is something that we're doing only for right now. If there was an extra nonfeasance, that would be another bill for removal, automatically written by Rules Committee. But the censure wouldn't affect the members' responsibilities or their role in any way. It's essentially like an opinion resolution that we can pass.
I yield.
Senator Wegmeister.
Yeah, due to the fact that this bill was written like 10 minutes ago or less than that, and at least one senator in the room doesn't have a firm grasp of what a censure is, I'm going to move to table this bill for a week.
Been a motion to table the bill. Is there a second? Any objection?
Object.
Right. You don't withdraw?
Nope.
Go ahead and go into a debating period on that then. On the objection, yes. Senator Wegmeister, you can begin.
I don't see it as an immediate threat to remove Senator Rios, or censure her at this moment, sorry. And I see no problem with tabling it for a week.
Speaker Weathers.
Senator Wagmeister, what are you hoping to accomplish by tabling it for 1 week?
I think that within the week, senators will be able to get a better grasp on what a censure is in order to make a more informed vote.
I mean, if senators in the room right now have questions as to what a censure is, I believe they should ask it now. I don't know if we necessarily need a week to define what a censure is. It would be my personal opinion, I suppose. Yeah, I don't think anything substantive is going to change between now and next week. I think it's going to be unfair to all involved parties if we prolong this any longer. I also don't believe any new information would come to light regarding what's already transpired. So I guess I would vote yes on the objection.
Senator Mahoney.
I would be inclined to agree. We've already had a fairly lengthy discussion about the circumstances of the situation tonight. I don't think rehashing this conversation next week, if this bill were to come up again next week, is really worth our time. I think while the circumstances are fresh in our minds is probably the best time to deal with this matter.
Senator Larson.
Yeah, so, I mean, I looked up the definition of censure, and it just, as you said, is just extreme disapproval. So I'm just kind of confused as to what that means. Like, I just don't understand what that means, like, for the Senate and for Senator Rios getting severe disapproval. Like, what does that mean for her position in the Senate and in all the organizations that she's a part of because she's a senator?
Again, it doesn't mean anything for the position itself. It's not going to affect rights or responsibilities of the position. It's essentially us expressing a collective opinion, saying essentially it's a collective opinion of disapproval without actually affecting anything. And I think this is not germane. I'm going to stop.
So collective shame? Yes.
I don't know if I'd use quite that wording. Basically what it is, it's like an opinion resolution. It's just stating publicly that we as a body disagree with the actions that have transpired here, or we are disapproving of this particular senator because of the actions that have taken place. If that makes it any more clear. Basically it's an opinion resolution, but it's a Senate order.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
Senator Rios.
I have a question for Dawson. So the other options are the one laid out in bylaw 3724? Like, what are the other options? I just want to double check.
So you're asking what the other options would be if not a removal bill and if not a censure?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the bylaw that I mentioned, but I just want to double check.
Sure. If this bill were to
I'm
not
going to
pass-
call germane on this to the object. We're
still
talking
on
about
the
an
objection.
objection here.
Yep, we're debating the objection now. We're not on the main bill. So we can go back to the merits of the bill once we vote on this. Senator DeVore.
On the objection, I would encourage any senators that aren't for sure maybe what this bill is to refer to the fourth whereas clause. I think it does a pretty good job explaining exactly what this bill is. With that, I yield, and I'm going to call the question on the objection.
It's been a call to question on the objection. We're going to go ahead and go on to a vote on the objection. So with this, if the objection passes, that means that we go back to debate. If it does not, then we're going to go ahead and go to a vote on the tabling that Senator Wagmeister proposed. So yes means that we keep debating. No means that we go to a vote on the tabling of the bill. Hope that clears everything up. Does anyone need any more clarification on that? We're going to go ahead and go into a placard vote on the objection, starting with yeses. Noes? Any abstentions? Any abstentions? Vote of 17 to 5 to 0. The objection passes, meaning we go back into debating period. Back onto debate for the bill as a whole. Senator Seth.
I believe this would be germane now, but I did want to ask essentially what Senator Martinez would have asked about what other options there would be besides censure and removal bill. Huh? This is to Speaker Weathers.
Yeah, I mean, if this bill were to fail, nothing would happen, of course. If this were two nonfeasances and this were a Rules Committee investigation, the options available to us would be to report to Senate that the infraction was minor and warrants no further involvement. Remind me of I think, what's the second one?
Vice Speaker Day.
Yeah.
The four options are author legislation to the effect of removing the individual in question. The second option is author a Senate censure, which we have up here right now. The third option would be reporting to Senate that the violation of government law was minor and that no further action is warranted. And then the fourth option would just be to dismiss all charges entirely.
Okay. I think that clarifies that. I will yield.
Senator Larson.
Okay, sorry. Do I have speaking privileges left? I just want to check.
This is your second one, yes.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm kind of understanding is this is like an official like do better, and I feel like we've already discussed, and I feel like she understands that what she has done is wrong, and she's pointed out and stood her case. So I just feel like this is, in my personal opinion, pointless and redundant. And I feel like it's almost, I wouldn't say hazing, but it almost seems like we're kind of humiliating the situation when we could just dismiss it, because we've heard both sides of the argument, and I just feel like this is completely unnecessary.
Senator DeVore.
Yeah, so essentially this body just agreed that two nonfeasances do not warrant the removal of a senator. But I do not want this body to set the precedent that nonfeasances are minuscule, that they have no meaning, because we have nonfeasances in place for a reason, and that is to hold each other accountable. By passing this censure, it is the official statement of this body that we still hold value in these nonfeasances. Because if we take no action on the fact that 2 nonfeasances have been issued, potentially 3, then that essentially leaves room for any of us to just kind of do whatever we would like, get nonfeasances, potentially not be removed, and carry on. Similarly to any other resolution that this body passes, it's technically the official opinion of the body. Even if some members of the body do not agree, collectively as a body, if the bill passes, that's the official opinion of the body. And I think that the official opinion of this body should be that we value nonfeasances and we value holding each other accountable. I would urge you to vote yes on the resolution.
Senator Mahoney.
I'm speaking for myself here, though I will speak as a member of Rules. If we were to, essentially Senate did the investigation that Rules would do itself at 2 nonfeasances tonight on the Senate floor. And with all of the facts that were provided tonight, I personally would have probably moved towards a censure. That's why I voted no on a removal, but why I will be voting yes on the censure.
Senator Rios.
I wanted to say that I was not expecting this bill either. I thought this would be something that would be discussed in rules. I just wanted to clarify that I did excuse myself. What happened is that they didn't accept my excuse. It's not that I didn't communicate. And then I think I've held myself accountable, and I think that you can still say and still, communicate that we hold people accountable without having to put my reputation on the line. I've done many projects and dedicated countless hours to student government, and I just don't think this is the fair way to go about it.
Senator DeVore.
Yeah, I certainly don't want to get back into debate about the metrics of the matter at hand. So someone please certainly call Jermaine on me if you believe. But you cannot excuse yourself from a committee meeting. You have to ask for permission of the committee chair to be excused. Again, I think that was debate for maybe the last bill, so I don't want to get into that. But I just wanted to clear that up. And furthermore, if, going back to my previous statement I just made, if we vote no on this resolution, then we set the precedent that committee absences are okay, and that perhaps you can just excuse yourself from a committee because we took no action on the issuance of 2, potentially 3 nonfeasances.
Question has been called for and seconded. Is there any objection to voting now? Closing comments with Senator DeVate.
I think the last bill was very binary in that it essentially was you are removed from Senate entirely or you stay in Senate. And I understand how that's a really hard decision for a lot of us to make. I was grappling with that myself. And I think the middle ground here is certainly more, maybe we don't want to remove a senator for that, but maybe we can still express, a censure is as toothless as they come. It doesn't do anything to anybody. I think once you've gotten to 2 nonfeasances, and once we're at this position here, at least with the facts that aren't in dispute, I think this is a good middle ground to place. And I can certainly envision, this is why I spoke about it before we voted on the last bill, is I can envision at least some members here switch their votes from a yes to a no once they knew that that third middle ground option existed. That is what this is. Again, it's entirely toothless, doesn't do anything to the rights and responsibilities of a member, while I think still most of us don't get into this situation. I think it still sends the message that we have clear standards, not to ourselves, but to our constituents. We have a duty to our constituents, and that's the responsibility, that's the standard we're holding senators to. With that in mind, I believe we should be voting yes on this. I believe that's where I'm going to find myself. I yield.
We're going to go into a vote then. We'll do a roll call vote once again. Please vote yes, no, or abstain once I say your name, starting with Advait. Yes. Adagarla. Ulrich. Yes. Brecht. Yes. Carter. No. Claiborne. Yes. DeVore. Yes. Filippi. Finaldi. Yes. Goff. Yes. Larson. Mahoney. Yes. Rios. No. Patel. Yes. Paulson. Yes. Rulli. Yes. Seth. Yes. Stayaway. Gags. Yes. Stout. Yes. Strickland. Yes. Thornton. No. Wagmeister. Yes. Weathers. Adagarla. Vote of 18 to 3 to 2, excuse me, the bill passes. Moving on to 2021-3-014 SD, confirming the nomination of an off-campus senator with Speaker Weathers.
Okay. If Jamie and Meredith would like to approach the podium. These are 2 UROC nominees. I sat in on both the UROC Constituency Council meeting to appoint them and the Rules Committee confirmation hearing. They both did very well. I think they'll both be excellent senators. I think they have everyone's confidence who they've spoken to so far. So if both of you would like to, one by one, talk about your qualifications, your experience, your motivations, and I think your schedule and your future plans for student government are also important right now.
I'll go first. Good evening, everyone. A lot of you might recognize me from last week if you weren't here or anything. My name is Meredith Mays. I am a junior. I am studying communications with a minor in leadership. I've been involved in student government since this past fall. I've been a very active member of student initiatives, and I was recently promoted to vice chair of the committee. I've been trying to become a senator for quite a while now, so I was really excited when I had the opportunity to try to become a UROC senator. While I'm not sure what I can do for the time being within UROC, since I'll only be a member of it for a month or so, I am completely open to anything that they ask me to do or offer. I also presented ideas that I'd be interested in working on even if I weren't a UROC senator anymore with UROC. Specifically with SI. I presented an idea of integrating some sort of safety walk like we have on campus, but doing it off campus to kind of encourage off-campus safety for students that have to walk to class. I would just be very grateful to be committed into this position, and I do have a lot of time on my hands, and I would be very committed to being a senator, and I am aware of all of the roles and duties that I'd have to complete. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jamie Haas. I'm a junior studying Communication Studies and Public Relations. During my collegiate years, I was a 2020 and 2021 Cyclone Aide, Vice President Chapter Wellness for my sorority. I was the Director of Special Events for the Sorority and Fraternity Community Ambassadors. I am on the PR committee for student government right now, and I just started my job working at the Engineering Career Services. I want to be an off-campus senator because off-campus students are more likely to not know what's going on, because on-campus residents, they have RAs that let them know what's going on, and so off-campus senators don't have RAs to let them know what's going on. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. But basically, as a PR major and as somebody on the PR committee, I would like to utilize the social media accounts to promote student government and what's going on campus.
Senator Mahoney.
So I just want to throw my support behind Meredith. I've had the pleasure of working with her on SI for a number of months now. She has been an incredible member of the committee. I'm very happy to see her be vice chair. She's been at every single event, nearly helping in tremendous ways, and been a very integral part of SI committee this year. I think she'll make an amazing senator.
Senator Carter.
Both of you sound very qualified. As juniors, especially juniors in your second semester, it sounds like both of you have a lot on your plate. I'd like to ask you how you plan on balancing out your other responsibilities with your responsibilities as a senator.
A lot of what I said that I was involved in my collegiate career, I'm no longer a part of. For example, Vice President, Chapter Wellness, that I was the 2021 Vice President, so I'm no longer, I'm just a general member in my sorority. Same with the Director of Special Events for Sorority and Fraternity Community Ambassadors. I'm not a part of that anymore.
Right now, I do have quite a bit of free time on my plate, even though I am a second-year junior. I'm constantly in the West office, just kind of hanging out and doing homework. And I've already done a lot of things for even I guess things that a senator would do. I do on a weekly basis, anyways. I accidentally completed my 2 outreach credits last week because I thought they were for the election ones, and then I'm just constantly in the office and would be able to do office hours. I'm always available on Wednesday nights. I do have a job, but I'm able to edit my hours to be available whenever I need to be. So I have a lot of free time.
Senator Seth.
Like Senator Mahoney just mentioned, I would once again like to echo his comments on Meredith's qualifications to be in this committee. She is my vice chair in SI, and she has already been doing a great job and taking initiative, and it's been 2 days. So she's doing an excellent job, and I know that she will fulfill a UROC senatorship seat exceptionally well. So yeah, with that, I'll yield.
Senator Claiborne.
I would like to yield my time to Director Garman.
I just wanted to show support for Jamie. Jamie's on our PR committee. Not only does she take our minutes, but she also is one of the first at-larges to offer assistance anytime we need help. I've worked with Jamie on numerous things. She's helped me make graphics. She's done different articles for the newsletter. So I think she would make a great senator, so I really hope you guys all allow her to be.
Senator Finaldi.
I'll just echo Bryce. It's been fun working with Jamie on PR. She's a vital member, and I would love to see her be a senator, so thanks.
Senator Debate.
I believe Speaker Weathers has a question.
Yeah, sorry, I'm the author, so I can't do that normally. A question for Jamie. I know, Meredith, you're planning on running, you're currently running the elections. Jamie, are you running to be a senator for the upcoming administration?
Yes, I just haven't turned in my intent form, but I am planning on running to be a senator.
Okay, good to hear. Thank you.
Do you withdraw? Senator Lee.
Yeah, I think we've asked a lot of questions already. Could you, I know both of you are coming from committees, and I think that's fantastic. Could you perhaps speak to something you want to see your Senate position used as? I know, Meredith, you touched on this a little, and I guess, Jamie, you as well. But would you be planning on continuing your committee memberships, and how do you anticipate your newfound position as senator assisting in that mission?
Yes, I would like to stay on the Public Relations Committee. Again, it is my major, so it would be a great experience for my major and my future career. I recently found out on Monday that UROC has a Facebook account that isn't really active, so starting that up. In my engineering career services for that job, I'm an office assistant, but I also work a lot with the social media, or not a lot, but I've been working a little bit with one of the staff members, and I've learned recently that the Facebook usually isn't utilized by students, but it's utilized by the parents. And so I hate to say it, but maybe like getting the parents involved and being like, hey, student, there's this cool event that you should go to. I don't know. Maybe that would help with some off-campus students getting more involved.
Outside of like current like plans or ideas I've had for SI, if UROC were to approach me with like wanting to work with SI, or if I did come up with like more, I guess, fleshed out ideas, I'd be very interested in working with them. Outside of that, I guess I don't necessarily know how my Senate duties would change or affect my SI duties. I'm already like very committed to SI, and I would also be very committed to Senate, and I guess just working with both my committee and my constituency would be something I'd be interested in the future.
Thank you very much. I yield and call the question.
Is there any objection to voting now? Any closing comments? No closing comments. We'll go ahead and go into a vote. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to confirming the nominees for off-campus senators unanimously? Okay, seeing no objections, you're both confirmed. Congratulations. We'll have you stay up at the podium, and the Chief Justice will swear you in.
I solemnly swear or affirm to execute the duties of my position as prescribed in the Constitution and laws of the government for the benefit of all students. Thank you.
Speaker Weathers.
Move to add Senator Haas and Mays to the roll.
Any objection? Right, seeing none, they've been added to the roll. Moving on to 2021-3-013 SCC non-voting members to the Election Commission with Speaker Weathers.
Okay, if the EC nominees would like to approach the podium, I'm going to direct the rest of my opening speaking privilege to Election Commissioner Opie.
All three candidates were very qualified in the interview. I know they expressed interest in helping us out on the PR committee as well as the debate committee, both of which we really need the help right now. It's when we're getting really busy. So having them on election commission, even as non-voting members, really helps us out and disperse the workload so we can ensure that everything runs smoothly.
And if you nominees would like to speak about your qualifications, why you want to be on election commission, any experience you might have had with similar organizations in the past, just anything you think is relevant.
Hi, my name is Ajibola Oluwadamilola. I am from Nigeria, and I currently major in accounting, and I also have the intention of majoring in finance. I am a freshman. I want to join the election commission mostly to learn, because back home, politics is seen as a dirty game. Either you are corrupted or you are killed, something. And most of the time, women are not allowed to participate. And even when they're allowed to participate, they are not given a voice. So basically, I want to learn how things are done here, how they are functioning correctly, so that when I go back home, I can actually change or contribute positively to my community. On account of my qualifications, back in high school, I was the vice chairman of the Student Representative Council. And I can say that I was able to pick up one or two things. I would like to add that to like the election commission. And also, I would like to add diversity to the group. They are pretty diverse, but seeing things from a different point of view might also help. Thank you.
Hi. Oh my gosh. Wow. Hi, I'm Brooke. I'm a freshman. I'm a major in political science and entrepreneurship with a minor in Spanish. And I have intentions of going to law school. I really want to be a lawyer. I wanted to join election commission because I was involved in student government and like NHS in high school. Since I want to go to law school, I feel like it'd give me a good experience. So, yeah.
Hello, I am Seth Swerko. I am a freshman. I am shooting for a Bachelor's of Science in English. I'm double minoring in design and music. My qualifications, I took 8 years of martial arts, in which I became a third-degree black belt, and where I helped a lot of the students begin testing. It actually does help, because I got to, assist all the students getting there, making sure they were all prepared, making sure all the teachers were, if they ever needed anything, I could help, hold boards when they wanted to break them, or help file papers. I did that sometimes. That was kind of fun. In high school, I was in band. I was in the marching band. I was on the student leadership positions where I would facilitate the band, make sure everything was going. I was the guy that conducted everybody, and helped everybody out or if it was ever needed. I was also in student ambassadors where I helped the teachers communicate with the students and tour new students around the big high school. Because for some reason my high school decided to throw everybody into the actual high school at grade 10 rather than grade 9. So it was very confusing. And I just like helping people, and I think that it would be a fun thing to do this with. I think it's really cool to get interactive with the community. I think this is a weird way of interacting with Iowa State. I mean, I'm helping doing stuff on the Senate. That's crazy to me. I don't know. I just like it. There you go.
Did someone call the question? Sorry, didn't say it in the microphone. Perfect. I can't hear with the mask. It's very hard. Okay. Is there a second? Any objection to voting now? All right, we'll go ahead and go into a voting period. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to confirming the nominees for the election commission unanimously? Seeing no objections, you've all been confirmed. Congratulations. (2021-3-015) SG, seeing senators to the Jack Trice Character Award Selection Committee with Speaker Weathers.
Okay, so this is an opportunity for us as Senate to appoint 2 of our own members, senators, to sit on this committee. There's an agreement between the Iowa State University Foundation and Student Government in which we get to appoint 2 members of Senate. The Executive Cabinet the executive branch gets President Campbell sits on this committee as well as a cabinet appointee. So this is basically student voice and who gets these scholarships. As it says in the bill, if you're sitting on this committee, the sorts of people that you're looking out for to give this scholarship to are those individuals who embody the traits and character of Jack Trice, and then it goes on to offer some more fluff. But I think if anyone wants to move to add names to those lines, and then we can debate about the merits. And please, if you have questions about the duties that would befall whoever gets put in those name slots, ask either myself or President Campbell. I think all the previous senators who have sat on that committee are now, they've moved on. But I know Senator Hayes, he spent some time, he was on this committee, he got slotted in that name slot. He spent maybe a week or two going through scholarship applications, reading the words that everyone wrote in attempting to get the scholarship for themselves, and just seeing how they fit with the merits of Jack Trice's character. So,
We'll take nominations from the floor then. Speaker Weathers.
I move to add Senator Mahoney to the first line.
Been a motion to add Senator Mahoney to the first line. Is there a second?
Point of order, we're on nominations right
We're on
now.
nominations right now, so we'll vote on the names that we select, and then we'll add it, and it'll be an amendment as a whole bill. So I'll write his name down. Is there any more nominations?
Point of order, has the nominee accepted?
Do you accept? Any more nominations? Senator Mahoney. I nominate Senator Patel. Senator Patel, do you accept? Yes. Senator Thornton.
You said several weeks was the time commitment, Speaker Withers?
How about we direct this question to President Campbell since she's pretty involved in it?
Although I'm unsure what the exact timeline is, it will likely be a couple weeks worth of individual analysis of the scholarship applications. The deadline closed yesterday on February 1st, and then we'll review the applicants individually and likely meet a few times. I would imagine no more than twice, maybe 3 at the most, to select once we've gone through and maybe taken notes and brought forth feedback to share with the group. So those meetings, to my understanding, have not been scheduled. They would be scheduled once we have the 4 names that are sent in to Student Affairs. But I believe that it would be wrapped up within, I'm going to guess, a matter of 3 to 4 weeks. But that is all my inference.
Okay, thank you.
Any more nominations from the floor? Is there a second? Any objection to closing the floor for nominations? Senator Finaldi, do you object? Do you withdraw your? Yeah. Senator Finaldi?
Can I nominate Senator Thornton?
Senator Thornton? Senator Thornton, do you accept? Senator Debate.
I nominate Speaker Weathers.
Speaker Weathers, do you accept?
Yeah, I do, I guess.
Any more nominations from the floor?
I believe I still have the floor. I'd like to nominate Senator DeVore.
Is there a motion to close the floor? Your second. Any objection? Great. Now we'll go into a voting period on those, or do we want to do? Senator Debate.
So I would, it's up to you, of course, but I would treat this as an election, essentially, since we have more names than blanks.
All right, so I invite Senator Mahoney, Senator Patel, Senator Thornton, Senator Weathers, and Senator DeVore up to the podium. You'll each have 5 minutes to speak. We'll do it in the order you were nominated. So Senator Mahoney, you will begin. Your time begins when you start talking.
Okay, so this is going to be rough and short because I was not expecting, I didn't even know this bill was a thing until I looked at the agenda about an hour or two ago, or an hour or two before Senate began. But I appreciate Speaker Weathers nominating me. I would love to help give funds to students here at Iowa State that are looking to, that have really made an impact on this university and really do embody Jack Trice's spirit and what he represents to this university. Obviously, he is a massive figure in our history, and I would love to be a part of the decision that continues to forward his legacy and giving money to students that really do embody him. I have been in similar applications before. I helped do some scholarship applications for IRHA last year as my position of Director of Leadership, so I'm relatively familiar with how these application processes go for scholarships, and I've looked over scholarships before in the past.
Hi guys. Okay, sorry, I had to make sure. Hi guys, my name is Kushi Patel. I'm the senator for IRHA, and yeah. All right. I need a minute. I'm gonna walk out for a second. Yes, please. Okay, we'll switch.
Okay. I was aware of this scholarship because I applied for it, and I'm under the assumption that if I'm elected into this position, then I will forego the scholarship, which is fine by me, because, you know, I don't want to pick my own scholarship. But if you're unaware of the scholarship, applicants need to read the following passage written by Jack Trice, which he wrote 3 days before his death, and then elaborate upon one or more of their own experiences in which they feel reveal personal commitment to the ideals demonstrated by that passage written by him. And the passage is, "My thoughts just before the real college game of my life. The honor of my race, family, and self is at stake. Everyone is expecting me to do big things. I will. My whole body and soul are to be thrown recklessly about the field tomorrow. Every time the ball is snapped, I will be trying to do more than my part. Fight low with your eyes open and toward the play. Watch out for crossbucks and reverse end runs. Be on your toes every minute if you expect to make good." And then the scholarship continues to ask, what contributions have you made to the Iowa State and Ames communities? For example, campus involvement, community work, athletic participation, etc. And yes, I did write nearly 1,000 words. But I'm sure that there are plenty of people that exhibit these qualities of Jack Trice better than I. And I really look forward to reading these submissions and being part of the team that helps select not participants, but the recipients of the scholarship. So I hope that you select me because I think it would be a good experience and a good opportunity to give back to fellow Iowa Staters.
Hi guys, sorry for that. As you can obviously tell, I was not ready for that. And I'm so sorry about that, but thank you for switching with me. And I just wanted to say that it's really cool to read applications, as that is kind of what I did back in high school, which is obviously almost a year ago. But I did that for many organizations such as NHS and FBLA, which was Future Business Leaders of America. And we would review applications for districts, since I was the district president for it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone who got nominated was expecting to be nominated, myself included, as I authored the bill. But I think an important part of the scholarship, and I have complete confidence in everyone up here's ability to do it, including myself. But I think a big part of this is emphasizing the courage that Jack Trice embodied. And you're going to have a lot of applicants, like Senator Thornton said. So an important part is performing triage in a sense. I don't know if that's the right word, but you're going to have to prioritize. You're unfortunately going to have to cut a lot of people, and I think that can be a little bit of a grueling work. It can be taxing a little bit, but I think it's really important that you seek out the best possible people because there are limited funds. So I think the skills that come to mind that I bring if I sat on the committee would be going through applications, which I've done before, obviously, in my role as speaker, being able to make tough decisions that are going to affect people negatively and positively. But I think the really important thing I want to emphasize here is courage. Anyone who gets this money should deserve it because they are taking on some sort of role that would be scary to the average person. Either they're a minority in any sense, any perspective that they bring, whether they're a first-generation student or a student of color. That's something that's really important to emphasize when going through these applications. That's something we want to support. That's why student government's partnered with the Iowa State University Foundation on this, because we want to support the very people that embody Jack Trice's vision, I suppose.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Devin DeVore, for those new senators that I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet, and I'm the senator for Cal's. Thank you, Vice Speaker Debate, for the nomination. It's an honor to be nominated for an opportunity like this. I think a lot of great things have already been said about what responsibilities this role would require, and I think that everyone nominated is eminently qualified to do such tasks. I would just say that I hope that I've gotten the opportunity to know many of you, or I feel that I've gotten the opportunity to know many of you throughout my tenure here in the Senate, and I hope that if you feel that I'd be qualified for this role, that you would vote for me. Thank you.
All right, I believe that was everyone. So if anyone has any questions for the candidates, we'll go in the same order. Not, we can go to a vote as well. Senator Larson.
I just wanted to know the time restraint because President Campbell said, this is going to be a few weeks, and I know some of you are quite busy. So will you have the ability to be able to put yourself into this project efficiently with all the things that everyone's involved in?
I absolutely can, because a lot of these applications are going to be kind of done on your own time or a little bit asynchronously. It means maybe I watch a little bit less YouTube before I go to bed. I definitely have plenty of time to take on such a cool and powerful responsibility.
Yeah, I believe so. It's, a little difficult to look forward, I would think, just knowing, it's a couple weeks, and I don't know if it's like a committee that meets, or if it's like Eddie and I are kind of guessing, where you're just assigned applications and you do it on your own. That would be easier for me to do. But I probably wouldn't have problem with meeting with the committee as well.
So I think that this is more of a question on time commitment and just talking to everyone if you're busy during that section. So I think that which I think I will be able to, but if you're able to make that time, then you can do it. And right now I do have a lot of free time, so it would work out just fine.
Yeah, I'm currently enrolled in 6 credit hours, so that's not a lot. I spent a lot of time doing 18 credits previous semesters, so this is my semester off in terms of time. But yeah, either way, this would be a priority to me. Allocating funds to people who need it, that's something that should be a priority.
Short answer, yes. I think that since it's something that you kind of do on your own time to evaluate the applications, I definitely would, and it would certainly be a priority of mine because this would be a great opportunity.
Right. Any further questions for the nominees? Question has been called for. Is there a second? All right. So the way we're going to do this vote, I'm going to call your name one by one, the senators. You have 2 votes. So there's 2 nominees that we nominate for Senate to be on this committee. And so each person here gets 2 votes. Another thing to clarify, every person who gets on the committee, so the 2 people, have to get a majority vote of the Senate, which is going to be 25 votes because each person gets 2. So we might have to do 2 just to make sure everyone knows what's going on here. But I'm going to go through each senator. You get 2 votes. You can vote for 2 of the candidates up there. Are there any questions? All right. Starting with Advait. Adagarla. Ulrich. Correct. Carter. Claiborne. DeVore.
I'll abstain.
Finaldi. Goff. Larson. Mahoney. Rios. Patel. Paulson. Thornton was your second one. Ruley. Jeanette. Seth. Say away. What was your second one? Thornton and Weathers. Thank you. Skaggs. Thornton. Stout. Strickland. Thornton. Wagmeister. Weathers. Zuber. Oh, just kidding. Mays. And Haas. Oh yeah, the two that moved down. Adagarla. Senator Thornton and Patel. Sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing which ones because their names sound somewhat similar.
Senator Thornton.
I'm going to you next. I'm just putting this down. Senator Ulrich.
Senator Mahoney and Senator Thornton.
Wasn't going to skip you. So the reason this is a little bit confusing is because each person gets 2 votes, so majority is technically 20 people, because there's 20 people voting, 5 abstentions. So we're trying to figure out. So 10 would be. We will not have to do a revote. So I'm just going to go through each person with the number of votes and then 10 being the amount we needed to, yeah. Okay. Mahoney. We're not doing revote. We don't need one. Nope. Mahoney, 5. DeVore, 5. Thornton, 15. Patel, 3. Speaker Weathers, 10. So the 2 nominees will be Thornton and Weathers. So we'll then vote to put those names in the blanks. So thank you all for speaking. Okay, thank you. Can you propose it? Are you doing it? You have to propose it. Great. Any objection? We'll go ahead and go into a discussion period on that. Call the question. Call the question. All right. Question has been called for and seconded. Any objection to voting now? Go into a voting period. This is, just to clarify, this would require 2/3, but this is an amendment to the bill. So what we just voted on. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to adding those 2 names unanimously? All right. Seeing none, they've been added. All right, now we're going to vote on the whole bill. Question has been called for. Any objection to voting now? Any closing comments? No closing comments. Go ahead and go into a voting period. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to passing the bill unanimously? See no objection. It's passed. Moving on to 2021-3-004Y, establishing at-large committee standards with Vice Speaker Advait.
Apologies for the little delay. My notebook has talking points. Okay, so this is the bill that I talked about last week when it came up. Let me make sure it's up on screen, which I will do in just a second. All right, so what this bill essentially does is right now we have standards for senators in terms of committee meetings and involvement. If you ever had to email the president of the chamber to ask for an excused absence to a Senate meeting, you know that we have those requirements. However, right now, at-larges on committees don't have any objective standards. It is entirely subjective and up to the chair of the committee in question. What this means in practice is depending on which committee you're on, depending on who's chairing, and even depending on how the chair's feeling that day, your standards are uncodified and essentially it's all operating on a subjective basis. What this bill would do is make that standard more objective. If you're wondering where the standards come from, they're essentially coming from the language that exists for senators right now. It's nothing groundbreaking in that regard. I believe this would just add to the fairness of the process, at least for at-larges, in that they can clearly see what's expected of them, and also for chairs, so they have an objective schedule to refer to instead of operating entirely on what they think feels right. If you have any questions, please point those at me. I would like to move the Rules Committee amendments.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the Rules Committee amendments. We'll go ahead and go into a discussion period on those.
Call the question.
Question has been called for and seconded. Go into a voting period on the amendments, excuse me. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to passing the Rules Committee amendments unanimously? Great. Seeing none, the Rules Committee amendments have been added back on the main bill.
I'd also like to propose the second amendment on screen. Essentially just adding "and activities" in the two places I have marked down. Why did, yes. Okay.
Proposing the...
I'm proposing the amendment on screen. And also, so the numbers are going to be a little odd because we just deleted a clause, but we can fix that in post. There doesn't need to be an amendment made for that.
Great. Is there a second? Great. We'll go ahead and go into a discussion period on that amendment. Question has been called for and seconded. We'll go into a voting period on the amendment. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to adding the next amendment unanimously? Seeing no objections, the amendment's been added. Back on the main motion once again. Senator Seth.
I looked at this bill whenever we got the agenda, and it seems like a good bill to me. I've chaired, I guess this is my second committee that I've chaired. Having kind of a solid set of rules or kind of like a guidelines to go off of as a committee chair in terms of attendance is really useful, especially when you have committee members who are maybe kind of towing the line of like kind of showing up sometimes and kind of not showing up sometimes. So I think this will be really helpful and clear up any issues like the one that we had last semester, which some of you will probably remember. So I think this is a good bill. I would encourage a yes vote. I yield.
Senator Mahoney.
Initially, when I kind of first read the bill and understood it, I wasn't like horribly or hugely in favor of it, just because I liked the chairs having discretion over what their committee members were being held to standards-wise. I think there's some committees that need to be stricter than others. That being said, upon looking over the bill much more, I was much more in favor of it. It does afford a lot more protection to at-larges, and because it's purely described on unexcused, if there was a meeting that a committee meeting, for example, in SI, because we are much more project-based and we are much more subcommittee-based, should there be at-large that can't make it to our general meetings but is there at every single event and working hard, there's a good reason that those meetings that they don't make to generally are excused. They would never be punished for that. So I think this pretty much just gives a lot of protection to at-larges. That's also why any nonfeasances end up going through the Rules Committee. As per the rules amendments we just adopted, they can kind of act as that non-biased member to additionally kind of protect those at-larges from maybe unfair standards that they're being held to. So I think it's a good bill in what it's written as right now.
Senator Rulli.
I'd like to yield my time to Finance Director Zastra.
Thank you, Senator Rulli. I'd like to push back on this bill a little bit. As the chair of a committee, I have at-larges that I oversee, and I think that their inclusion on the committee is very unique to Finance Committee, and I think SI members probably have unique experiences to SI, and PR at-larges would have unique experiences to PR. I don't think having a uniform process for this makes sense necessarily. I definitely appreciate the uniformity of it, but at the same time, if you're an at-large on a committee and you have to come to Rules Committee, what a stark change of environment from being on SI, being on Finance. These people, the at-larges don't have any concern for the bylaws because they're there for student input. They're people who are deliberately trying to be outside of our sphere, and if they are supposed to know the bylaws in an intimate enough way to know what specifically their requirements are of them being an at-large, aside from what can be communicated to them by their chair, these are my expectations for you to be on my committee. I just would prefer that as an alternative. I would also say that what is determined as an unexcused absence can be manipulated relatively easily as a substitute for following this strict standard. And I think if I was to change what I considered to be an excused absence to reflect how I used to do excused or unexcused absences instead of just following what's intended here, I think that's missing the point as well. So I would just like to push back a little bit. I think it's fine if this passes. I don't think this is the end of the world, but I would just like to get that out there. Thank you.
Speaker Weathers.
Question for Vice Speaker at debate, I suppose then. Following this bill's passage, would there be any reason why a committee chair couldn't still author a bill for the removal of an at-large if they saw some sort of other reason that's not codified here to remove them from the committee?
I suppose this isn't limiting committee chairs in any way. Would you be okay if I expanded on how this would affect chairs? Okay, so I guess I wrote this from the perspective of being a chair previously, in being that, do I write a removal bill for at-larges at 2 unexcused absences, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? What's the schedule? And more importantly, how do I ensure that this schedule of what level of unexcused absences triggers what is being consistent across timelines, across chairs, so that way it's not like if you're an at-large in late 2021, the chair decided having 3 unexcused absences is worthy of a removal bill and went to Senate with that, versus if you're in early 2022 with a different chair and the chair's like, okay, now the standards are different. So I guess it's really just something, it's for chairs to look at, it's not for at-larges to look at the bylaws. It's more for chairs to look at the bylaws and understand, okay, this is generally the specific standard. However, if there is something really egregious and a chair thinks I want to write a removal bill after 2 unexcused absences, sure, they can do that, but they would have to make their case before Senate and all of you for that to take effect. So I think this is being fair in that regard.
Okay, thank you. I'd also like to move to amend 5.5.5 to change 5 to 4.
There's been an amendment to change the 5 to 4. Great, we'll go ahead and go into a discussion period on that.
Yeah, so the reason I wanted to do that, my thought was if we're getting to 5 unexcused, mind you, absences from a meeting, I think you're probably already past that, the point where you need to be removed from the committee. I think 4 unexcused absences, mind you, are good grounds for at least a bill to come to Senate for us to discuss whether or not you should be removed. Nothing's automatic, obviously, but I think if you have 4 unexcused absences, you should definitely have, there should definitely be a discussion going on about whether or not you should be removed from the committee.
Is there any more discussion on the amendment? Question has been called for. Is there a second? Any objection to voting now on the amendment? Go into a voting period on the amendment. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to adding that amendment unanimously? All right, seeing no objections, the amendment's been added back on the main motion. Question has been called for and seconded. Is there any objection to voting now? All right, go ahead and go into closing comments. Vice Speaker.
Yeah, I think, again, this makes things a little more fair. Objective standards are always better than subjective standards to make sure all at-larges are treated the same, regardless of who they are or what background they're coming from. I think this will help us further that mission. And I think we've made our points pretty well already. I'll yield.
All right, we'll go ahead and go into a voting period. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to passing this bill unanimously? There's been an objection. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Please vote yes, no, or abstain once I say your name. Edvate. Yes. Adagarla. Yes. Ulrich. Yes. Brecht. Yes. Carter. Yes. Claiborne. No. DeVore. Yes. Finaldi. Goff. Yes. Larson. Yes. Mahoney. Yes. Rios. No. McCready. Patel. Yes. Paulson. Yes. Ruley. Yes. Schnepp isn't here. Seth. Yes. Stay away. Yes. Say no. Skaggs. Stout. Strickland. Thornton. Wagmeister. Weathers. Zuber. Mays. Haas. Yep. 22 to 3 to 0, the bill passes. On to new business. 2021-3-006F, funding National Society of Black Engineers with Senator Rulli.
National Society of Black Engineers is looking for travel to the their 40th annual NSBE National Convention in Anaheim, California, and we will be seeing them in finance next Tuesday. I can take any questions.
Are there any questions of intent for Senator Rulli? Right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to 2021-3-007F, funding Cricket Club with Senator Zuber, which I don't believe is here. Is there a co-author? Senator Rulli.
Looks like Cricket Club is requesting funding for a competition in Houston and 2 other competitions, and we will also be seeing them on Tuesday.
Right, 2021-3-008Y, adopting the operating rules of the Senate with Vice Speaker debate.
Right, so you've probably been hearing about, that's not the bill. Anyway, you've probably been hearing about this for a while. I know it's been a long meeting, so I'm not going to talk a lot about it. Essentially, it does what it says. It adopts the attached adopting rules of the Senate. All it's really doing is taking out the policies relevant to Senate operation. That would be the current chapters 1, 2, and 3, as well as chapter 5 of the current bylaws into its own document, and then taking those out of the bylaws. However, reserving those chapters similar to United States Code, so that way all of our references in our other governing documents don't immediately break. I yield.
Moving on to 2021. Senator Mahoney, excuse me.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Vice Speaker Vate, but this would not change, should it passes, our day-to-day operating procedures as Senate.
No.
Moving on to 2021-3-009F, funding Election Commission gift baskets with Senator Rulli.
Yep, Election Commission is looking for gift baskets. We did a similar project last year, and because of the time for that, we're already in the election season. I will move right now to waive first read on this bill.
There's been a motion to waive first read on this bill, and it's been seconded. Is there any objection to waiving first read on this bill? It's been an objection. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and vote on that. Or discuss the objection. Excuse me.
Yeah, this is really just, I'm looking to ask the question, what is the timeline on this? And I understand we are entering election season, but why does it have to be dealt with now instead of a week from now, in that we cannot have a week to look at it?
I think one of the members of Election Commission would be best to answer this question.
Yeah.
Shipping time, getting it all together, and then promotion of the giveaway. It's supposed to be at the presidential debate, so we're in a short time frame. That's why we've requested a waiver.
When is the presidential debate?
February 28th.
How do the other timelines add up?
23rd. What?
How do the other timelines add up?
From, like, if you do it next week?
Yeah, so what are your estimates on shipping and getting the word out, and how do you think that'll impact this?
Well, I mean, there's like 10 items, so I'm wanting enough time for the 10 items to arrive, package them, etc. So I can't give you like a good amount, but I do think that this is warranted of a
And I suppose my primary concern is Senate essentially waiving first read as a regular practice. Could you speak to why this bill was written now and couldn't have been written earlier?
Because I've written 5 bills in the last 2 weeks, so I've been a little busy.
That's understandable.
So it's kind of at the end of my...
It's understandable. I'll yield.
Question has been called for. This is for the objection. Is there any objection to vote? Or I guess we can't do that. Just kidding. Okay, so going into a vote on the objection now. So voting yes on the objection would be we would just move on and then vote on it next week because this is a first read bill. If you vote no, then we're going to go into regular debate like this is a regular bill. So please vote yes, no abstain. We'll do a placard vote for this one. This is on the objection, just a reminder. So starting with yeses. Noes? Of 3 to 22, the objection fails, meaning we will be going to regular debate on this bill.
I guess I still have the floor, but Chase outlined it pretty well. No one has any discussion. I'll call the question.
Point of order.
So now we're on. So we did the objection. Now we have to vote on whether or not to waive first read. So call the question. Okay. So yep. So we'll go into a voting period on that. So this is whether or not to waive first read. So yes means we'll go into a regular debate. No means we'll move on. So we'll do placard vote again. Yeses. Starting with yeses. This means we're waiving first read. Noes. Did you get? All right. A vote of 22 to 3. Well, we're going to go ahead and waive first read and go into the main motion. Now on regular debate, just like this were a normal. This would be a normal bill. Senator Rulli.
I move the Finance Committee amendments.
And a motion and a second to move the Finance Committee amendments. We'll go ahead and go in discussion on those.
Yeah, these are just fixing some totals on there that were typos. Call the question.
Question has been called for and seconded. We'll go ahead and go into a voting period on those amendments. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to adding those amendments unanimously? All right, seeing none, the amendments have been added. Back on the main motion once again.
And then, Treasurer Krug, could you go into detail then on the different baskets that we have that you, and then I guess explain kind of the overall goal of this and what we want to be achieved here?
Yeah, I'll go with the goal first.
Point of information.
So,
Could the organization approach the podium like normal, or so we can ask questions?
All right. So, Election Commission Treasurer Krug, would you feel comfortable going to the podium and then we can ask you questions in that manner? Proceed with the question.
okay. So, yeah, so this gift baskets is pretty much last year we did gift baskets to promote the election. It was a great opportunity. We got a lot of following from our social media pages on Instagram, and just a really great outreach event to get students involved in the elections. Last year we actually did have the highest voter turnout, so I think that's a great reason why we should fund this again. The baskets I can't really see, but I can do the basket A is the warm and cozy theme, and then basket B is the ISU themed gift basket. So yeah.
Speaker Weathers.
Hello, Chase. So you said that last year was the highest voter turnout ever. Do you know what the difference was between last year and the year prior, to try to get some sort of sense of the impact that this had?
I don't have the data, but the data is on the website, and it's in the side boxes. So,
okay.
Someone would pull the.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'd be curious as to those numbers. Because I know a lot of times when organizations do this, where they offer some sort of prize, follow us, get a prize, it amounts to follows, but a lot of times that's basically it. Yeah.
Christian Grunsteiner. So I actually helped work with this last year, and I do have some numbers from the post last year. We had to start a new account for EC, and we had maybe about 100 followers. And over that giveaway, we reached 1,482 accounts, and we gained a bunch of followers. I don't know the exact number, but I know we did reach over 1,000 accounts with just those 3 posts, and we only had 80 followers.
Okay, I think a difference of nearly 1,000 followers would amount to some sort of tangible impact. So, I yield.
Senator DeVore.
I do apologize if you said this. I guess just can you clarify like what the gift baskets are used for, like who they're given to, how students get the chance to win them?
Yeah, so it's a social media giveaway. Essentially, what the plan is now is that you're going to follow the Election Commission page, follow student government, tag 3 friends, and post the whatever gift basket you want on the story. And then students will be put into a giveaway, into a drawing. The presidential candidates will then draw from a bucket, and then those winners will be contacted. So.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
Vice Speaker Debate.
Again, I apologize if you've touched on this before, but so considering that the debate itself is on the 23rd, when are you planning on distributing these to students? I understand the giveaway is going to run probably a lot before that, but when are you actually planning on handing these out?
I'm not in charge of the committee, but I'm assuming as soon as possible we have to get ready for the March 1st and March 2nd elections, so I'm pretty sure we're going to get it as soon as possible.
So when you say as soon as possible, could you perhaps speak to whether it's before or after the debate?
The drawing will be on the debate, end of the presidential debate.
Okay.
And then those 3 days, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, those would be the days that we distribute them.
So as soon as possible after the debate?
Yes, because they're drawn and we contact them.
Correct.
And then they have to fill out a W-9 form.
Okay. And
so
could you...
separate processes.
Absolutely. And I know I touched on my reservations with the way I see it. If there's 21 days to between now and the debate, I feel like that's plenty of time for items to be shipped unless you have evidence to the contrary. I do not see why publicizing the giveaway itself can currently happen before you actually have possession of the items. But I think that's a debate for another. We already passed that, so let's move on. I'm going to move on to my next question is, what do you think of having a split social strategy, almost in the sense that we've noticed recently many of student government's organs have their own social media platforms, and they're trying to grow their engagement sort of individually. So what this means is we're going to see, at least I know for the student government Instagram, we're going to have our own strategy to increase engagement and follower counts on that. And then the Election Commission Instagram is sort of a separate thing we're also spending money on, we're also spending effort on.
Point of information, is this germane to a finance bill?
I guess it's up to the chair, but I'm trying to ask whether it's worth it for us to spend money on 2 separate social media accounts, is what I'm getting at right now.
I believe it is germane.
Yeah, could you speak to that?
Can you repeat the question concisely, please?
What is, in your opinion, the value of spending 2 separately time, money, and resources on having a split social media strategy?
So PR, Election Commission PR, and student government PR in the bylaws, we're supposed to work together with civic engagement as well. I don't think there's any effort. Pretty much it's just the same post. One of us will repost it. I don't think there's an issue in that regard.
I guess what I'm asking is, when we're spending money on this, it's going to followers on the Election Commission account, right? And not the student government account? And if
No,
we're spending,
it's for both.
It's for both?
Yes.
So would you be planning on putting out as in you have to follow both accounts before you are? Okay. Hey, that's pretty cool. I yield. Call the question.
Great. Question has been called for. Senator DeVore, excuse me.
Sorry, quick question. I don't mean to scrutinize over such a small amount of money, but can Finance Committee speak to whether we've ever allocated funds before to this sort of thing? Like gift basket giveaway? Other than for the election commission last year, like did any other organization or anything get this kind of funding?
I can't recall, but I think Finestrick.
Yeah, I would say we wouldn't allocate funding to organizations for things they just give away. We say that we won't give out funding for like T-shirts or something that they're only giving away for like advertisement of their club. Election Commission and student government I would consider different because it's in our bylaws we're not allowed to have dues. There's no other way to generate revenue, and the reason we would give it to a club is that if you think that this is important enough that you should be spending money on it, raise that money yourself. That's a different situation with our two orgs.
Thank you. I yield.
Speaker Weathers.
Hello again. So the gift baskets would be given out on the day of the presidential debate, correct?
They'll be drawn. The drawing will be, so the presidential candidates, like last year, they drew out of a cup. Those people were contacted the day after, because we get done at like 9 or so we won't contact till the day after.
Okay.
And then they have to fill out the form.
Okay. So I guess my question for you is there anything that would prevent someone who follows one of these accounts trying to get the drawing from unfollowing the day after the vice presidential debate?
I believe that is a valid question for the moment. We probably should wrap things up here soon.
I only ask because if our goal of spending this money is to increase turnout for the election, right, we should probably make sure that people are following our outreach accounts up until the day of the election, at least in my mind. And maybe I'm missing something.
Well, throughout the event, we're going to be posting election commission related stuff. So the elections, the debates. I'm pretty sure our account has increased from last year. I don't think there was a drastic decrease in our number of followers.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I don't know if
that's
this is anything to kill the bill over, of course, but is there any possibility of moving the drawing back to ensure that people are following the account up until the day of the election?
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. Do you disagree with that idea? Is there any problems with that?
I'm not in charge of the committee, so I'm also not in charge of the rules. So.
Okay, but you don't see
if
any
you
good.
can, yeah, I can relay that to them.
Okay, thank you.
Question has been called for and seconded. Any objection to voting now? We're going to closing comments with Senator Rulli. No closing comments? All right. We'll go ahead and go into a roll call vote. This is a finance bill. Please vote yes, no, or abstain. Advate. Adegarla. Yes. Ulrich. Brecht. Carter. Claiborne. DeVore. Filippi. Pinaldi. Goff. Larson. Mahoney. Rios. Patel. Paulson. Rulli. Seth. Sayaway. Skaggs. Stout. Strickland. Thornton. Wagmeister. Weathers. Mays. Haas. Of a vote of 25 to 0, the bill passes. Closing announcements. Any closing announcements? Senator Stout.
Okay, so this announcement is for Sustainability Committee. February 7th, there's an Ames Climate Action Plan Town Hall between 6 and 8 at the Cardinal Room in the MU. There's flyers in here. If anyone wants one, I'll leave them down at the table, but yeah.
Senator Seth.
I'll keep this brief because I know that y'all want to leave and I also want to leave. There are open seats on Student Initiatives Committee for both at-larges and senators. So senators, if you're looking to join another committee or you're in need of a committee, you should come talk to me about it because I would love to talk to you about joining Student Initiatives Committee. And if you know anybody who's not in student government who might be interested in Student Initiatives Committee, just like reach out to them, give them my email or something or my Snapchat. I don't really care, whatever works for them, and send them my way. Thank you.
We'll do closing announcements along the back table. Just pass the mic.
Hello. I know that Scott had left, but just wanted to say congratulations to our newly brought in members of student government, Senator Mays, Senator Haas, and then also now Supreme Court Justice Henry. With that comment, I want to ask, and you don't have to share now, but if you would reach out to anyone at this back table, Chief of Staff Jacob Ludwig is in charge of this listserv, but if you are not receiving mass student government emails, you might not be on the listserv studentgovernment.iastate.edu. So if you have not been receiving the Campbell Scoop, Mason's Money Zone, Advait's Bureaucratic Chronicles, things like that, and other information, please let us know. We really want to get you on those so you're aware of information and looped in. Thank you. Have a great night.
Any more closing announcements along the back? All right. Okay. We'll go ahead and go to closing announcements from Vice Speaker and Speaker.
So I think it goes without saying we covered a fair number of sensitive topics tonight. And this is just going to be an echo of my last closing announcement in that I think it behooves us to still be professional and be respectful to everybody, no matter what opinion you might have of them in a professional setting in Senate here. All of that goes out the window once you walk out the door. Other than that, please remember to keep completing your office hours. We are currently at I've tried to digitize the process a little, so remember to scan the QR code in the legislative area near the door. So that way it is on file that you have completed your hours. If you forget, again, no big deal, just email me and I'll make sure it's on file. Mentor-mentee pairings will be out very soon. Plot twist, you might see a non-current senator, but someone who served in Senate before on there, so that'll be cool. Other than that, it is really cold out, and my car can seat up to 4 additional people. I will be headed to the office after, so if you are one of those people that would like to stay in the MU for approximately 30 more minutes, you are more than welcome to grab a ride back home with me anywhere within the city of Ames or its environs. I yield.
Okay, last obstacle before you can leave. Election outreach is a point I wanted to touch on. So obviously some of the best senators that we have are senators who have experience, senators who have been here for a while. They bring a lot to the table. I think maybe a lot of you have seen that. I'm hoping that all of you in here who can run next year are running, have submitted your statements of intent. If you're not or unable to or just unwilling, reach out to somebody that you know. Most of the best senators and most involved senators have been people who have been contacted by previous student government members because they've reached out. You all have the expertise to know what it takes to be a senator because you're senators, right? So find people like you, find people who are dedicated, and that ensures a strong organization going forward in the future. One more thing, I'm still working on the local affairs committee with our ex officio Trevor Poundstone over there. If you have ideas on what would make a good committee that works with the City of Ames, the Story County, local businesses, things like that, please reach out. I've been in contact with our civic engagement chair, Sonia Paulson, because we're looking at maybe shifting a civic engagement committee into this and expanding it. So if you're on civic engagement or if you're anyone in here, please reach out. Share some ideas, concerns, whatever. I don't believe I have anything else. I appreciate the debate tonight. I appreciate the cordiality and decorum. Move to adjourn, go Cyclones.
Is there a second? Seeing no objections, this meeting is adjourned.